evidence for all of it.
So near-death experiences are fully explained in neurology as psychological phenomenon. You didn't actually meet an angel. That's why nobody in neurology, psychology, cognitive science, philosophy of mind, or any academic field related to mind think near-death experiences are evidence of a god, because we've proven that near-death experiences actually happen to everybody. There's an actual example of children having near-death experiences, and they tend to see a large, fat man in a red suit with a big white beard, Santa Claus. Is that evidence Santa Claus is real and visiting people after they die? No, it's evidence that what happens when your mind goes haywire, when it gets shuts off randomly, is that the connections fire in such a way that it generates personal experiences that are then saved as conscious memory, even though they were just imaginary. That's all it is.
Well, pretty good argument, but let me tell you, they have done multiple new studies actually in neurology that proves the point that some of this is actually real. And lots of this time, when people see Santa Claus in their deaths, is because of
What are the
God
studies?
not showing him his own face, but
Wait.
instead
You
showing
mentioned
him some beauty to comfort other people.
One sec. You mentioned studies. What studies?
Yes, or somebody.
What
Yeah,
studies?
recent studies
Which one?
in the neurology and mind.
Name the study.
And
give me a title.
The study of near-death experiences.
That's not a study. That's a name. What is the title of the paper and the author?
Michael DeGeneres. Do you know him?
No.
He's an Oxford graduate from southern Texas. And he's a really, really smart man. And I am happy to
The guy on Ellen?
have read his study. What, buddy?
I don't see a study from him at all. What's the name of just the title of the study?
Oh no, he's like an underground writer, so a lot of his studies doesn't get out. So I think he only sent it to friends and family, and
Well,
that's why you can't find it. Yeah, he doesn't like to be too popular. He's like underground, underground rapper.
One sec.
Okay,
So,
buddy. Yeah, of course. Buddy.
For
Yeah,
something to be a study, it needs to be published in an academic journal and peer reviewed. It's not a study if you just write it in your mom's basement.
But he doesn't. I just told you that he's a fucking neurologist, didn't I? Listen, God is real.
No. So even if he's a neurologist, he has to publish the study in an academic journal for it to be a study. It's not a study if he did it himself. It doesn't count. You have to publish it in an academic journal.
Hello?
Hey.
I just want to quickly hear, how would you explain the Bible?
How would I explain the Bible? You mean how it exists or something?
Yeah, like how do you explain the stories in them?
A bunch of goat herders made up stuff and wrote it down.
But how are you sure it's made up?
Because all the evidence indicates it's made up, just like all the other religions.
What kind of evidence?
The fact that it doesn't correspond to history, it doesn't correspond to biology, it doesn't describe the origin of the universe, it doesn't describe physics correctly, it doesn't describe time correctly, it doesn't describe genealogy correctly, it doesn't describe age or biology or how bacteria and germs work correctly. It gets things wrong, like all of them. And it gets things wrong in a way that all of the people at that time period would have gotten them wrong. And so that's explained by the fact that people in that time period had made up explanations, and they wrote those made up explanations down, and they were wrong in the same way in the Bible as they were in the common culture at the time period.
Okay, pal. That's all for me.
Sure.
Hey, TJump, what are we discussing here?
Anything God, philosophy, morality related.
Okay, God, philosophy, morality. What about God?
There is no evidence of God.
Oh, okay. There's no evidence of God. Interesting. What about spirits? Because in Christianity or in any religions, you name it, uh, they worship a spirit being.
There is no evidence of spirits.
Do you mind if you linkage the spirit being to the consciousness?
I don't know what that means.
So in a recent study about the consciousness, where this is Professor Edward Kelly, I'm not sure you're familiar with him, and Sir Roger Penrose also study about quantum consciousness recently, and they talks about this consciousness, whether produced by brain or is actually produced by brain or not. It's kind of like it's not even comes into a final disposition yet. So what is your takes on that?
It's a hypothesis with no evidence. So all of the consensus in neurology, psychology, cognitive science, philosophy of mind, all mind-related fields is that the mind is produced by the brain, full stop. Everything else is just an unsupported hypothesis with no evidence, purely imaginary.
Do you have the evidence that consciousness produced by the brain?
Yes, all of the novel testable predictions which have been confirmed have been based on the hypothesis that consciousness is produced in the brain. There has been no novel predictions confirmed by any hypothesis that consciousness is independent of the brain. Therefore, all of the evidence indicates consciousness is produced by the brain.
So do you mind to debate with Professor Donald Hoffman?
Sure.
Do you know him?
Yes, I do. I would be happy to have him come on my show.
Because Professor Donald Hoffman is an atheist guy, and he is a neuroscientist, and he doesn't even dare to say that consciousness is actually produced by brain.
He is, again, one of the people who has a hypothesis which does not agree with the consensus of experts in any mind-related field. So the fact that he has his own preferred hypothesis doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah, I think I get what you mean, because historically people dealing with a lot of spirits, and yet in the science, specifically in neuroscience, none of us neuroscientists or scientists be able to explain what is consciousness. If you say that yes, there is a scientist be able to really explain consciousness is this yada yada yada, well, none of it. If you can send me a journal or scientific peer review about it, I mean,
Well, why do you think
I'm happy
that,
to study about it. Really, really happy.
why do you think that
But
the inability to explain it at this time is evidence that it's something else?
my point is like this. My point is that we as a believer, we take the steps to believe in it, because historically people, I mean, ghosts, right? Ghosts, people dealing with a lot of a ghost,
Yeah,
this
but
kind of a
wait.
supernatural.
I had a specific
I know
question.
there's no evidence of it.
Well, no, I had a specific, because you brought up the point that we haven't explained consciousness yet. And that's true. We haven't explained consciousness yet. But if saying we haven't explained it, therefore you can explain it as some kind of non-physical thing, that's a contradiction. It's like if I say, oh, look, an unidentified flying object, oh, it must be aliens. You can't say it's unidentified and then claim it's aliens. It's called an argument from ignorance. I don't know, therefore. And so even if we haven't explained consciousness, that's not evidence of your position. And so all of the evidence is still on my position, even if we don't have an answer yet, because for you to claim you have explained it, you would need new evidence.
Exactly. I understand your position. I think we talked about it before, not on this server, but on your server, in TJump server. So I understand your position. You will only be able to really believe in it, not just believe in it, but you really be able to duplicate it. It's really not just empirical evidence, but it's really, really scientifically proven enough. But in my position, we take to believe in it because there is a linkage. There is some kind of a connection between historically human experience throughout this study of a consciousness recently in a 21st century, leading by a lot of a professor, for example, Rick Strassman even the guy, I mean, Professor Rick Strassman studied DMT with this kind of a spirit molecule that hosted by Joe Rogan, and that was like 10 years ago. And subsequently in UK clinically approved to study a DMT, where where uh, where assumed that a consciousness put outside of a physical brain that somehow heal the people with anxiety and depression. So it's kind of a breakthrough. This is one of the
Well,
benefit in
that's not a breakthrough.
neuroscience. Let's say.
We already knew about that before.
Mhm.
We didn't need any non-physical anything for that. That's fully explained by physical processes. We know that depression is caused by wiring in the brain that causes a not enough of a release of or too much of serotonin, too little dopamine, too little oxytocin, and so using chemical stimulants in order to open those pathways can cure you of anxiety and depression and all kinds of things. None of that's evidence of any non-physical anything. That's already understood in the physical sciences.
Yeah, I understand, but my point is that not just that, but if you just take one side of a factor of that, yeah, probably you can explain it. But there's a lot of factors that you can't explain, like people in Alzheimer. When this Professor Edward Kelly study, one guy had a Alzheimer that is going to die, but be able to using this kind of a high technology EMRI that be able to measure the consciousness with this guy that is almost, I mean, is about to die a day before he died.
What is that?
So my point is another point is that
wait. No, how is that point not explained? You said here's something that's not explained, and you said there's a guy with Alzheimer's, and you can see conscious activity in the brain with an fMRI. And how is this not explained by physical processes? Because if we're looking at conscious activity in the brain, an fMRI, a functional magnetic resonance imaging machine, measures physical activity in the brain. And so if we're seeing that in the brain, that's all physical. There's no non-physical anything there.
I couldn't be able to explain further about this, but what I know is that this guy suddenly remember everything just before he died, and this is in line with the DMT process, where DMT is like an out of a body experience. And what happened is that Professor Edward Kelly also measured the DMT on this guy, and the body released a lot of amount of DMT on the dead people. I mean, about to going to die.
But what about
So,
this?
here's my point.
What about this is evidence of the non-physical? So your brain, Alzheimer's deteriorates your brain, and DMT, a stimulant, causes your brain to open up and have pathways take less electrical signal to transfer from one neuron to the next. So if your brain is deteriorating, which means you can't send signals from one to the next, and you use something that can stimulate the signals from one neuron to the next, then obviously you're going to be able to do more with your brain when you're on this stimulant than when you're not on the stimulant. So I don't understand why you think any of that is evidence of non-physical anything.
Yeah, exactly. Unless if there is a much more a study to explain about it. Yes. Definitely, I agree with you, because a lot of feedback on that study, just exactly as what you're saying. Another things that I would like to linkage is that the cloning, human cloning. I mean, you guys probably don't familiar with Dr. Pavas. Dr. Pavas is the guy that illegally doing cloning, just like cloning a dog in UK. I think that was like 15 years ago. And a lot of religious people really, I mean, even that this guy is almost get caught by a police, but he did it anyway. He did it for 15 times. He did it for 15 times, trying to clone a human, literally cloning, just like the procedure he did this cloning, just like the same exactly cloning a dog, a sheep. Okay, so he did it for 15 times, 15 times, and the only successful he did until 3 months, but all of them are miscarriage in the age. The longest is 3 months.
So
what we believe is that according to our belief because there's no soul in it. Yeah.
Why? There's
But
no,
how
wait,
can
wait, wait,
you
why?
be able
Why
to
would you think
explain?
that is the better explanation rather than cloning? The process of cloning is what you do is you take the DNA and you try to copy it exactly in every cell. Now, when DNA replicates, it causes damage to the cell, like or damage to the DNA, right? That's what evolution does. All kinds of things cause damage to the DNA. So if you're trying to make an exact copy, there's going to be information lost and it's going to get damaged as you copy the DNA. And so why do you think it not having a soul is a better explanation than the process of copying the DNA isn't perfect yet and it causes damage to the DNA, which then can't form a life? Like, why do you think soul is a better explanation than stuff we know in biology?
Because that is the only malpractice that in human history this guy be able to do human cloning, but is not successful. So this unsuccessful process lead us to believe that because there's no soul in it,
No.
unless
Why
if you're
isn't it better
explaining to me
explained?
that
Like, so when we try to clone things, our technology is
I
not
understand.
perfect, right? So it's when we try to clone one cell, it's not going to be an exact copy. There's going to be damage in the DNA. It's going to be different. And so if you're trying to clone a DNA that's going to form an entire biological organism, it's going to be very hard. Nature doesn't even make clones very well. And so making a clone that's like an exact copy is extremely difficult. So the fact that he can't do it with his current technology seems to be a better explanation than there's a soul.
Yeah, because he did it for animal and it is successful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why when I said that he did it for animal, but he cannot successfully did it for human, and it's really interesting because this guy is luckily he did it because this is proving that you cannot clone human, you can only clone animals. Yeah, I
No,
mean,
no.
the only possible explanation that we can take as a religious guy, as a Christian guy, well, it's exactly God will not allow that.
No. So
You know what
a
I'm
better
saying?
explanation is the
Yeah.
fact that we've done millions of attempts at cloning animals. Millions. There's only been about 6 or 7
So
attempts to clone humans. So of
I
the
understand.
millions of attempts to clone animals, less than 1% are successful. Of the 6 attempts we've done to clone humans, none of them have been successful. So in order to clone a human, we're probably going to need millions of attempts, just like we do for the animals. The fact that a few attempts haven't worked isn't proof we can't clone humans. It's just we haven't had enough sample size to be able to do it successfully.
Yeah, hope that this experiment it has to be good. I mean, repeatedly going through to prove that are we really be able to clone human? Because in Korea, in South Korea, they clone a million dogs there. And I know it's kind of expensive, but yes, they did it just exactly perfect cloning dogs. But here's the things. My point is this, TJump. There's a few factors in here in human history. Number one, people seeing a lot of a ghosts, spirits. I know you don't care about it,
So one
and
sec.
people.
Just Korea's only cloned like 600 now.
I'm trying to put a pattern here. I know it's a fallacy, but that pattern lead us to believe in God.
But there's no pattern there. Like that's not a pattern.
The pattern is number one. Number one, people believing in spirits because people historically seeing a lot of a ghost spirits. Number two,
Wait. People
right?
seeing things isn't evidence. So that is zero evidence. The fact that people
Number
imagine
two,
things in the
people
past is not
experience
evidence.
out of body experience, and when they take DMT, they feel the same things. Number three
Wait. Those
is
again, those are not evidence.
neuroscience
Wait.
consciousness.
The
Number
things
four,
you're
cloning,
listing
human cloning,
aren't
unsuccessful.
evidence. The things you're listing are not evidence. Like I've proven all of those are exactly zero evidence. 0 plus 0
Yeah,
plus 0 plus 0 is still 0.
equal to zero. I know. I
Saying
understand.
that you
I get
believe in
you.
God because of these 0 evidence plus 0 evidence plus 0 evidence plus 0 evidence is no
Mhm.
evidence to believe in God. You shouldn't be using these zeros to believe in God.
Yeah, but even if it is to you, to your understanding, is zero evidence. It's better for us. It's not a non-beneficial to believe in God. It's better to take the worst case. Hey, I might believe in God rather than not. Because
No,
what is wrong with me if I'm not believing in if I'm believing in God,
you're
right?
believing in things
In
with
the
no
end,
evidence.
when I die believing in God, I will still be with God, no matter God is doesn't exist.
Mm,
You know my point?
I think you're trying to make Pascal's wager, but the first problem is that if you believe things
Yes,
based
that's
on
that's
no
the way.
evidence, that's a problem. So Pascal's wager fails because you're equally as likely to get into heaven if you believe in God or don't believe in God, and if there is a God and if there isn't a God. So, in all possibilities, like Pascal's wager is a little box. There's little four minute smaller boxes within the larger box, and it says, "God exists and I believe. God exists and I don't believe. God does not exist and I believe. God does not exist and I don't believe." And typically, it usually has an infinite reward for God exists and I believe, and an infinite punishment for God exists and I don't believe. And then it has zeros for no God and I believe, no God and I don't believe. But that's wrong. It's possible for there to be a heaven without a God. Like there are many religions, Jainism, Hinduism, Buddhism, where you have heavens without gods. Like the Brahman in Hinduism is a heaven that exists above the
But
gods.
you're agnostic, right? You're an
I'm
agnostic
an
atheist,
atheist.
right? You're not a
I'm a
you're
hard
not
atheist.
like anti-theist.
I'm a hard atheist, so I think there is no God.
You're anti-theist.
No,
Oh, okay.
anti-theist means
So
that
you have evidence
wait,
that there's no God.
stop. So anti-theist means that you are against theism, like you hate theism. I'm an atheist. I think there is no God. I'm not an anti-theist, like I against
Okay.
theism. So I think there is no God, and the chances that I'm going to get into heaven are the exact same as the chances you're going to get into heaven.
Is it the chance is about it's just is about where is kind of a non benefit or benefit is not about benefit. I would rather take a point where I will just take a failure one instead of nothing, and whether that failure one it's just in the end if it is nothing at all, but I at least in the worst condition I probably get one. You know what I'm saying?
Well, no. So I'm saying I get
So
one.
so
The chances that I get one and the chances that you get one are the exact same. You don't have a higher chance of getting one than me.
yeah, I understand your point, but when we believe there is a God out there, even though you don't believe there's a God out there, even if I believe there's no God out there, it's just make me more satisfying till the rest of my life. I will just believe in God, even though in the end there's no God, but I will just take a chance to believe in God.
That's fine. Like
With
you
this
can if it
pattern,
just makes you
with this
happy,
kind
that's
of a
fine.
pattern.
If you just believe because it makes you happy, that's
Exactly,
perfectly
exactly.
fine. It's not evidence, but you can do that if you
Yes,
want.
yes. I know it's a fallacy. It's not evidence. Yeah.
Well, it's not a fallacy.
And
Like
then
you can it's
you believe.
perfectly fine to believe things that make you happy, as long as you don't claim that that's like some kind of a justification that indicates it's truth. Then that's not a fallacy. It's perfectly fine.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine. Yeah, yeah.
But
I remember about your objective morality is kind of a cool. You still on it? You still believe? I mean, you still hold that
yes,
objective morality?
yes.
Okay, okay. That's yeah, yeah. We have the same thing as well. Well, what else? Yeah.
Well,
Do you have
let's
anything for me?
not really. We can let somebody else up and chat for a while, and then you can come back up if you have any other questions.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
Fish timer. Go ahead.
Yep.
Cool.
Thanks for coming up.
Uh, I just have a quick question about your moral system.
All right.
Um, I'm wondering how things that inconvenience others fit in. So, like, for example, when we see somebody leave a shopping cart out after getting their groceries, we get really frustrated. But I was trying to think how that imposes on other people's will, and I wasn't sure how that fit in.
Well, so the first thing when assessing objective morality, so there's this main problem with moral dilemmas. Moral dilemmas start with this: in the individual subjective context of this individual, what's the moral thing to do? Now, obviously, that question doesn't tell us anything about objective morality because it's in the subjective context of this individual. And so, in order to understand objective morality, we have to think about it in the perspective of what is the best possible world. In the best possible world, then describe the event. So, the best possible world is everybody gets their own universe. You can define your own definitions of what you want your universe to be and the laws in your universe. And so, if you're in your universe and you leave a shopping cart out, no one's imposed. Doesn't make a difference. No one cares. But you're asking from the perspective of our pragmatic world, right? So in our world, if you leave a shopping cart out, is it immoral? And the question is like contingent on the property ownership of the shopping cart and the rules that you agree to when you engage in use of the shopping cart. So if like you're Target and Target says you're supposed to bring the shopping cart back and not leave it out, and you don't, then yes, you're being immoral to some small degree by not bringing it back because you're not you're not following through with the rules that you've agreed to when you engaged in the use of somebody else's property.
Okay, that makes sense. That's all I had. Thank you.
Yep.
Sorry, then that I thought it was asking more was like the obligatory nature of the your moral systems. Like what makes me obligated to follow this moral system?
There is no obligations. Obligations are inherently subjective. They don't matter to morality.
How so? Like I'm not obligated to follow, or I'm not obligated to put the shopping cart back in its place.
No. So if you don't do it, you're immoral. And if you do it, you're moral, essentially, or amoral. I don't know. But you're not. Obligation is something that is self-imposed. There's no like obligation force in the universe. If you want to be moral, then you ought to do moral things. If you don't want to be moral, then you ought not to do moral things. Oughts are hypothetical imperatives, not categorical imperatives. There's no like categorical ought anywhere in the universe. Morality is a fact of the matter. If you
Wait,
do
so what's
these things, you're moral. If you do these things, you're immoral. And that's just a fact. What you feel like you ought to do is not relevant.
so what is morality then?
It's a law of physics. Undiscovered.
What is the law of physics?
It's the moral law of physics.
What do you mean?
Could you
Like,
define that?
So morality is a force in nature, just like any of the other forces. We haven't discovered it yet. That's the model. And so it's a thing that exists out there, kind of like a platonic object, but it's not platonic.
So,
sounds like a cope,
It's
like
just like
a
a
God particle.
Sort
kind
of. It's
like
a
the
hypothesis.
force.
It's a hypothesis. Yeah.
How is that not just naturalism of the gaps?
Well, there's no such thing as naturalism of the gaps. That's just induction, but it's a hypothesis.
So where does this force come from? And
It's the fundamental nature of reality. It doesn't come from anywhere.
Can you reduce it anywhere?
the
Can't find it?
fundamental nature of reality is itself.
Right.
So isn't that fundamentally circular?
No. Ontology isn't circular. Circular is a reasoning thing. It's epistemology. So, like, if you justify a belief with the belief, that's circular. But a rock existing isn't circular.
I mean, how do you find
Morality.
How would you
morality
find
becomes-
it? Like, we could find it if we had a complete understanding of physics, just like any other law. We could find it in its effects, like how it affects different conscious agents. So if we find the exact same pattern of morality in every species in the universe, that would be good evidence that it's caused by something other than subjective social contexts. AIs, same thing. So there are many ways we could discover it.
I also don't
Well-
understand what do you mean by morality, because if everything's determined, then how does anyone follow morality?
Morality is a phenomenon. So, like when we see someone punching a baby, we feel that's bad. And when we see someone helping an old lady, we feel that's good. And those feelings are inherently what everyone means by morality, the intuitional feelings that some things are good and some things are bad. And whatever is
That's
causing
subjective.
No, it's not subjective.
well, it's a subjective experience, but whatever is causing the experience is the essence of morality, the thing that's causing all morality. So the direct experience of this feeling is what we're referring to as morality, and whatever causes that feeling, if it's like just evolution, then it's subjective. If it's some kind of a god, then it's something independent of our subjective experience. Or if it's a platonic object or a law of nature, it's objective. And so whatever is causing this feeling of morality is the essence, the ground of morality.
So like guilt is caused by morality.
If guilt is caused by morality, then it would be objective if morality is objective.
Wait, TJump. So, I get this from like the transcendental arguments, for example, where like we try to disprove the induction thing, or we try to go under induction and don't give empirical foundationalist arguments. But I just feel this is a cope where, um, even though there are immaterial things when you're a materialist, which you believe all things are just atoms and
Right.
irreducible,
No.
Then-
So there's matter and energy. Yeah.
okay, maybe matter and energy, just materialism, all right, that's fine.
Yeah.
But if you believe in materialism and there are abstract objects that exist,
Well, I
you
don't believe
just-
in abstract objects.
yeah, exactly. You're just squeezing all these things into one particle, a particle like the God particle that Stephen Hawking what is it, theorized.
Well, the God particle is
like-
just like the Higgs boson. So that's, but I think
I mean,
I
is
think
there
your
any
argument
evidence that-
is I think your argument is that these models are typically inferred from non-physical objects, and I'm inferring them about physical objects, and you think that's a cope because you
'Cause
don't
there's no
think
evidence.
physical objects can do it or something.
Because there's no evidence.
Right, I agree there's no evidence, but there's no evidence for either one. So it's perfectly fine to make a hypothesis to explain these things.
I mean, I think it's self-evident
What?
that it's not material.
Well, that's not an argument. So there's no such thing as self-evidence of anything. Self-evident is like your conscious experience can be self-evident, but everything else, there's no self-evidence. So if you're trying to make evidence for anything outside of your imagination, self-evident isn't an option anymore.
So what's your hypothesis for morality?
You said it's like a particle like thing, something
Undiscovered law of physics.
fundamental. Yeah.
Well, like that's not usually a hypothesis is like a question, right? So we
What?
try to answer that question.
No.
it's not. Hypotheses are not.
What?
Hypothesis
I
is
just
something
see
you
it
think
more-
is true about the universe, or
I don't know, because
Okay.
if you theorize something, it has to be because most theories are still bound onto some line of reasoning and some sort of evidence.
right?
But like you just throwing this out there.
Well, no.
It's like,
So the line of reasoning is there's a pattern in moral intuition and moral progress, looking at moral dilemmas and philosophical problems and morality. You can plot these out to try to find a pattern in the solutions to these. And from this pattern, we can try to infer what the solution would be down the line, like what would be the final solution of morality for all moral problems. What is the principle that describes all morality? You can then describe this principle and then try to infer what could possibly instantiate or ground this principle. I think what could ground this principle is an undiscovered law of physics. So the conclusion part is just
If,
the
if
hypothesis.
that's true, then how could people have different moral systems?
again, there's no evidence for this theory. It's just like
That's hypothesis.
radical
That's literally what
hypothesis.
hypothesis means. So right.
Yes.
I make predictions about what we should find in the future if this is true, which is that we find other species of life all around the universe that all have the same patterns of morality. And then second asks, how can people have different views of morality if there's one overriding law? The same reason people have different levels of sight with one, I don't know, way light works. So the fact that your brain develops in such a way that it interacts with this law differently means you're going to be on a different level of a spectrum than other people are on this spectrum. But what matters is there an overall arching pattern that applies to everyone regardless of where you are on this scale? And so even if someone's blind, that isn't evidence there's no light. So the fact that someone is a psychopath or whatever and isn't affected by morality at all isn't evidence there is not an objective morality. So people having different views of
Well,
morality isn't an
why are you
argument.
convinced of this hypothesis?
Why am I convinced of it? Well, I think that it's the best explanation from my perspective of the evidence of morality.
You said that there is no evidence.
Well, there is evidence of morality, like moral intuition, moral progress, philosophical dilemmas. And then what is the best explanation of those pieces of evidence? I think this hypothesis is the best explanation of this evidence.
No, this is just a. I feel like this is also an induction fallacy.
What?
You just have this naturalistic presupposition for you to believe in
So
such
that's not a fallacy.
radical claim.
Again, there is no naturalism of the gaps. Using like if you see white goose, white goose, white goose, white goose, and you say what color is the next goose, you could probably be like white goose. That makes sense. That's not a white goose of the gaps. That's just induction. If you want to say it's different, say it's not a white goose, say it's a purple goose or a
No, I
black
think
goose.
it's
Wait,
way
one
like
sec, one sec. So
yeah, sure. Go
if you
ahead.
see white goose, white goose, white goose, white goose, and say the next goose is going to be purple, the next goose is going to be black, and then we discover it's white, and you're like, well, the next goose is going to be purple, the next goose is going to be black. That's a god of the gaps, a black goose of the gaps. If you're going to say it's the same color as all the previous ones, that's not a white goose of the gaps, a naturalism of the gaps. And so if everything we discover is natural, 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 saying the next one is going to be natural isn't naturalism of the gaps. It's induction. That's the justified position. If you want to say it's
That's not the
different,
induction fallacy. That's not what it is. Would
um,
it be like a better analogy is you see white goose, white goose, white goose, white goose, and then you claim after that that all gooses are white,
well, that's not
even
what
though
I'm
there's some
saying. So, like,
things.
that's not a thing. Nobody in science does that ever under any circumstances. We're not saying all
Well,
geese are
you
white.
are
We're
doing
saying
that. You
this
said
particular thing that I'm thinking of, the next goose is white. That's it. We're not
you said
saying literally
you said
everything,
you're a
every word.
materialist, right? You said you're a
Yes.
materialist.
Yes, I'm a
That all things
materialist.
are material,
That's what the
nothing
evidence
immaterial.
indicates.
Wait, so how is that not induction fallacy? You're just saying I see material here and naturalism
Because
here,
I'm not
or
saying it's
natural processes
impossible
here.
for there to be non-physical things. I'm saying there is no evidence to conclude there is any non-physical things.
Right. So if there wasn't any, if there was evidence, then if you're going to be consistent with your,
Yeah, if there
Pyrrhonian
was evidence of
skepticism,
non-physical things,
why
then
wouldn't
I'd
it
grant
be?
there would be non-physical
Why wouldn't
things.
it be more rational? Because if it's, by the way, if you're going to take like the agnostic position here, you can say one position is wrong while the other position is correct if you're going to be an agnostic because you've not reached the truth yet.
No,
So
that
I
doesn't
just
matter.
go by
That's irrelevant. That's
rationality or
irrelevant.
deduction.
That's irrelevant to knowledge. So you don't need certainty for knowledge. It's called the position of fallibilism. It's the consensus among scientists and philosophers. You can say, I know there is only a material world and non-physical world, even though I don't know everything. So based on the evidence I have right now,
Yeah, that's not what I'm saying.
what
That's not what I'm not saying. You can't have certainty of anything or absolutes. That's ridiculous.
right. So, but what I'm saying is, if all of the evidence indicates white goose and there's no evidence of black geese, I'm rational to conclude all the geese are white. That's a rational conclusion. It's not a
Exactly,
certain
but
conclusion.
there is proof of there being black goose.
Right.
Exactly. For
So I
example,
can
like
believe
the
something.
irreducibility.
Wait. So if
Wait,
at
one
one
second,
point,
1 second.
well, that point's irrelevant to the argument here. So the argument here is suppose we only have evidence of white geese. We've never seen a black goose ever in the history of the world. Never seen one. Are we rational to conclude that all geese are white? Yes. And then could we be wrong? Sure, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if we could be wrong. What matters is what does
But I
the
don't think
evidence
that's
indicate?
true though. Like for
Well, this is
example, if you're gonna go by the induction,
fallibilism.
if you're gonna
Fallibilism. The thing I mentioned
if you're
before.
if you're gonna be 1 second, if you're gonna be going through the induction positions, I just think it's gonna be very incoherent because I say to go through the induction positions or the process of induction at all, there are some necessary transcendentals or abstract objects you have to
No, they're not.
do to these. I mean, you say no because you're just gonna shove all these things into
What?
just one particle, like the God particle, like how
What?
Stephen Hawking says,
Well,
with
no.
no
So,
theory, with no
you're
evidence.
not understanding how the methodology works. So, if we have a methodology we have evidence there are white geese, we have no evidence there are black geese. It is rational to conclude any number down the line of geese is going to be white. It is irrational to conclude any number of geese down the line are going to be black. The actual
No,
conclusion, the
I don't
actual
think
truth
you
is
understand what I'm
irrelevant.
saying.
We don't care. All that
You
matters
don't
is what
understand what
do
I'm
we have
saying.
evidence for now? You are only allowed to make rational conclusions based off what evidence we have now.
I don't think you understood what I said. I said, for example, I said, what? Let me use the analogy of geese to better picture it for you. It's like there are white geese, and let's say to see white geese, you know that two black geese have to mate. Obviously, this is not true, but let's just for the analogy.
Okay.
And then now you see all white geeses, and you know for necessity that there are black geeses, because you see, I don't know. Maybe you've
It's a
I don't know,
hypothetical rule we've
you
made
just
up. So yeah,
understand this, right?
Yeah.
It's an a priori, right?
sure.
So this is what I'm saying. We understand black geeses exist as a necessity because we do the processes of induction. In the
What?
same way,
Well,
doing the
so
process
like
of induction.
so a priori rules don't exist. Like you can't say I a priori know that a white geese comes from two black geese. That's an a posteriori fact. You would need evidence in the external world to justify that. You can't ever use a priori arguments to try to conclude anything about the a posteriori world. There's just conceptual truths,
Yeah, of
empirical
course
truths.
of course it is. But I'm just saying, for granted, for the sake of the analogy, of course it doesn't make any sense. But how does two black geeses? It's just faulty analogy. But I'm just saying, if you don't
I know
believe
this
a
is slightly
prioris
off topic,
or
but I'm
metaphysical principles, and you're just gonna shove them under a single particle, like how Stephen
What?
Hawking said, with no evidence. Obviously, that's not what you're doing, but like it seems to me like that. That then it just seems a little bit ridiculous.
Well, it seems like you're looking again at the methodology from the wrong perspective, from the top down, which is wrong. What you do is you look at the methodology from the bottom up. What evidence do we have now? We only have evidence of the material world. There's no evidence of anything else. So for anything that's an unknown, it's
Logic?
rational to conclude it's going to be natural, and it's irrational to conclude it's not going to be natural until we have evidence of a non-natural thing. And you can hypothesize non-natural things perfectly fine. You can make any hypothesis you want. And then from that hypothesis, you can try to
I don't think
infer
these are hypotheses though. Like these
what's
are clear-cut things that are able to be reduced into material things.
what do you, I have
Unless
no
you
idea what you're
just
talking
just
about. So a
like for
hypothesis is
example,
anything you can imagine causes some phenomenon in the observable world. That's it.
yeah, of course, but I'm just saying like for example, morality. We've not been able to reduce it anywhere. I don't think you can using deduction. You
That's
can't
your
reduce
hypothesis,
it
but that's irrelevant. So why would you having an alternative hypothesis matter?
I think this is like something that's, well, I want to say self-evident and true, but like
Well, again, that's again you confusing an a posteriori phenomenon with a priori truths. That's your hypothesis, but it's not supported by anything. So you can have a hypothesis that you think morality is irreducible or something, and somebody else can have a hypothesis morality is reducible. Yours doesn't invalidate theirs. The fact that you think it's irreducible isn't supported by any novel testable predictions, and so you can't invalidate theirs simply because you by definition have defined morality in this way.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe we have like a different understanding of morality.
Sure.
Then let's move on to something more like more wide known, I guess. Like for example, logic.
Okay.
I feel like for induction, a logic is necessary, an a priori.
Well, logic is a formal system of semantics. It's a language we've made up in our head to describe stuff.
Yeah, okay, no. It's if it's just completely made up, then why can't we dispose of logic?
We can. There are many non-standard logics, paraconsistent logics, many-valued logics, diletheistic logics that don't use.
So we could dispose A does not equal A?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. So diletheistic logics are logics that entail true contradictions. Paraconsistent logics contain some true contradictions. Many-valued logics contain things that are both true and false in like partial ways.
No, in the let's not go into theoretical mathematics or
This
whatever
isn't.
that is.
These are different logics. These are all logics. They are literal logics.
But like, how do you ever see A could not equal A though?
I don't know. I didn't write
It's a
these.
contradiction that doesn't make any sense.
So
And I think to create
no.
logic,
Wait.
I feel like you
Logic
still
is a
need to use-
language. Logic is a language. It's like English. You can make language sentences that do
No, it's
describe
not.
reality. It is literally is. Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy,
Well, that's just
classical logic, very first
purely
sentence.
hypothetical.
No.
Purely hypothetical.
Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, classical logic, very first sentence. Logic is a formal language. It's the very first sentence.
To create language, I mean, create the create language or logic as a quote unquote tool. I feel like you have to use the laws of logic. Like
Sure, but that
even
doesn't
though
make a difference. That doesn't make a difference.
even though we remove all these like whatever stupid
A
things, like
logic
contradicting
consists of a
logic,
formal or informal language together with a
real quick.
deductive system
Even
of
though
semantics.
if we remove all of these linguistics or all these like fake languages, in the real world, A will always equal A. A tree will always equal a tree, right?
You're not understanding.
I will always equal I.
Like, is gravity F equals ma? No, F equals ma describes how gravity works. The math isn't the essence of what gravity is. Gravity is just a law of physics, like it's curvature of space-time or whatever.
Right.
So logic is the same thing. Logic is a system of language we have made up to describe things in reality in the way they are. So there is a way that they are in reality. Logic is the language we made up to describe that. Logic doesn't exist.
No, I think logic already exists, and we're just enveloping it, like creating a mold.
Well, then you
Like, for
disagree with all
example,
philosophers.
No, like not really. No,
Well,
mathematics
I mean, remember,
exists. Maybe I'm wording it
I literally
incorrectly.
just read you the very first sentence. Classical logic, Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Logic is a formal language that consists of something semantics. It's literally what the position is. Logic is a thing we made up. There are many different kinds of logics.
No, that's not
There's
what it's
literally
saying.
a section.
It's not what it's saying.
Yes,
Maybe
yes, it is.
maybe we're having a
There is a
semantics
literally
issue
a
right here.
section called the right logic question mark, where it's discussing the multiplicity of
having a
different kinds of
semantical issue.
stop interrupting. There is a section on the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy called the right logic question mark, where it's discussing which of the various kinds of logic actually correspond to reality. Is it standard logic? Is it many valued logic? Is it fuzzy logic? Is it quantum logic? We don't know. So all philosophers agree there are multiplicitudes of kinds of logic, different systems of logic. They are languages we've made up. And we don't know which one of these languages accurately describes the way reality is. The logics don't exist. They don't. They are things we've made up as languages. And then we want to know if these languages describe reality. Every
Could you
system.
stop rambling now? Because
No,
that's
no,
not what I'm arguing
I'm not.
for.
I'm not
I'm not
done yet.
arguing
Not done
that.
yet. So every
Again, this is a
system of
semantical
logic,
issue, my friend.
every
This is not literally what I'm.
every system of logic has sentences that can correspond to reality, sentences that do not correspond to reality, and sentences that are self-contradictory. And this is true of English and logic. So English, I can say the sky is blue, that corresponds to reality. I can say A equals A, that corresponds to reality. Then I can say something that doesn't correspond to reality. A does not equal A, or that's self-contradictory, round squares or a married bachelor. So all languages have sentences that do correspond, that don't correspond, and that are self-contradictory. This is a fact of language. None of the logic exists, just like English doesn't exist. Second late, what do you got for us?
Yeah, so I was curious because you said that there's like general trends of like progress when it comes to morality.
Mhm.
Like I was wondering, like, where do you get that from?
Evidence of history, women's rights, LGBTQ rights, eliminating child labor, animal rights, voting rights. Like Saudi Arabia just made it legal for women to drive. All human cultures, as technology and intelligence increases, give more freedoms and individual rights to people universally.
So I would say that most of those things apply to a very small part of the world with a very specific social context, right? So I don't
Which one
think
does
it's
it
fair.
not correspond to?
Like it doesn't apply to like most of Africa, for instance.
It does. Most of
Right.
Africa are also experiencing the exact same amount of increases in freedoms and rights as everywhere else at the technological development stage that they are at.
I mean,
You can Google
I
countries in
can't really
Africa who have
substantiate
made.
otherwise, but it's
So
I can't really substantiate otherwise, but it seems not to be the case.
based on what? So this is just a universal fact. You can just Google how the moral progress in Africa has improved over time. There's bunches of evidence of this. We've literally decreased poverty by over 50% worldwide. So this is definitely a thing. I don't know. I mean, if you intuitively disagree, that's fine, but all of the evidence indicates this is a thing.
I would be curious to see your evidence.
You can just Google it. So use Google moral progress in African countries over time.
Okay. I also have another question in regards to morality. So, from your estimation, what would be the objective system of morality?
I think that the way a perfectly moral world would be, and the principles that describe that world are going to be the objective morality that we're describing. And so I think a perfect moral world is a world where it's impossible to force anyone to do anything they don't consent to doing. And so I think that, in essence, is the description of perfect morality.
Okay. Touched on utilitarianism earlier. Does that play a role, or
No. So utilitarianism says that anything is moral based on what you can do. So if you're in the trolley problem and you have to choose between killing 1 and killing 5, the moral thing to do is to kill 5 because it causes the least harm. My model disagrees with that. My model says forcing anyone to do anything they don't consent to doing is immoral. And so killing 1 is immoral and killing 5 is immoral. It's just more immoral. And so that's the difference between my model and utilitarianism, whereas utilitarianism declares something to be moral if it's the least harm, whereas mine says any harm is immoral.
so I guess what about obligations, right? Don't you think people have obligations and responsibilities
No.
to do or not do certain things?
No, I think obligations and responsibilities are a social construct to try to encourage people to act in socially beneficial ways to benefit cultures and governments. I don't think there is any objective obligations. I just think morality is a descriptive statement. If you do this, you're immoral. If you do this, you're moral. And then you're going to be measure the amount of morality or immorality somebody is. But I don't think they're obligated to do anything.
Well, what's the point of descriptive?
Point of descriptive is to describe reality. So if it's a fact of the matter that you are X level of immoral, that's just a fact.
Okay. But what benefit does that bring?
Benefit? I don't care. Like whether or not a fact brings a benefit doesn't make the fact not true.
Okay, so you just care about truth for itself.
Sure.
Okay. I guess that's it for me then.
Cool. Thanks for coming up. Appreciate it.
Yeah, bye.
What's up, David?
What's up?
Not much.
So who's gonna start the conversation?
Typically you would. The person joining the stage
Okay.
normally has a question or something.
Okay. Okay. So people say, I mean, God is not real and stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And I mean, and they say like this to bring up the science thing, but like then like explain like the art of design. You know, like does that not basically prove God?
What art of design?
Like us being designed as a way, does that not prove artist? Because even science says that a design is an art form, and an art form basically explains the artist. And it just depends on what you guys believe. Do you guys believe that the universe is the artist? But that can't be, because that's not a conscious being. He can't like the universe is not conscious, right? So it has to be from someone from consciousness, right? So
As far as I know, there's nothing in the universe that is considered arts or designed. That's
what?
like
But then, oh, come on, like the Earth
not designed.
is that like? Come on, man.
Like what evidence? Do you have a scientific paper?
Art
that
form,
says-
art form is basically explained as a structure, pattern, and shaping. You don't think the Earth has a shape?
Yes, it has a shape. Shapes aren't art.
Exactly.
Rocks have shape.
It's an art form.
No,
It's an art form.
like particles have a shape. They are not an art form. A paint
Okay.
can has a shape. It's not an art form.
Okay,
there
but
is
that
no-
means you basically.
There is no pattern in physics that is the art designed pattern. There's no such thing.
You sure?
Yes.
Yeah, but science from my research, science doesn't agree with you.
Where? Which science says there is a shape art form? because it's not in physics, it's not in cosmology, it's not in chemistry, it's not in biology, it's not in geology, it's not in history.
But that means you're also saying that that's also saying that's what basically also saying that Earth is not physical.
No, all of them say
Which
Earth is
it
physical.
definitely is. Which it definitely is.
No,
Like, come on.
all of them say Earth is physical. None of them say Earth is art.
But it has a shape.
Yes, they all say it has
Yeah.
a shape. None of them say it's art. So which scientific paper says shape is art?
That's not what I'm saying. I said a designer.
Okay, which scientific paper says this shape is designed?
Like which science documentary? I mean,
No, I mean paper. I mean
it's
academic.
from the dictionary, bro. It's from the dictionary.
Wait, which dictionary
I don't know if
says
people do that.
shape is designed?
No, an art form.
Okay,
Art form.
which of any scientific field says anything in physics is designed?
The understanding science, basically. The understanding of science.
I understand science. None of science says the world is designed.
That's not what I said.
Okay, what do you think?
I said a designer. I said a designer. It has to be made by a designer. And the thing is,
if it's made by a designer, that means it's designed. So what evidence shows the Earth is designed and or made by a designer? Because those two are synonyms.
Yeah, I mean, but if you say there's no designer, right? Then that basically means what's the point of evolution, right?
Evolution is a process of material interacting. Doesn't have a point. There's no purpose to it. Anybody else got any questions? God, philosophy, morality, anything?
I mean, I'm searching it up right now.
Okay, take your time.
I'm searching it up so I can see like what he's talking about, because yeah, but it says evolution is a process by which the physical characteristics of a creature change over time. New types of creatures develop and other disappear.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it says something about physical stuff.
It is physical. So like rain is the
Yeah,
process
exactly.
of water
But, like-
condensing in the atmosphere and falling and hitting the ground.
Yeah, but then, bro, there's a lot of contradiction in the words you're saying right now.
What contradiction?
Because we talked about the art form, the shape, and everything. But then you say all of that things, and then you say, okay, that doesn't exist. But then after that, you acknowledge evolution. It's just like so much of contradiction, right?
I'm not seeing how there's a contradiction in saying evolution is true. The world has a shape. Neither of those are designs. Neither of those are art. Neither of those are made by a designer.
Yeah, but how is it? But physical, bro. You're ignoring the physical aspect then.
So Earth and
Yeah,
evolution
you're accepting the physical aspect of evolution, but you're not accepting the physical aspect of like art.
No,
that's
no. So
does that work?
So there's this.
How
thing.
does that work?
So like all flowers are roses, but not all roses are flowers. So all things that are designed are physical, but not all physical things are designed.
But it can somehow it can somehow like evolve to be like that way.
Yes, because of physical processes that are not designed.
Okay. So you're basically like the person that would think, okay, like non-existence can come basically existence or something like that.
No one thinks that. No, we think that reality has always existed.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, but like, fair enough. I mean, I'm just trying to question your point of view, and like, I'm just trying to question your point of view, you know.
Sure.
Because of the art, you know, I just can't believe about the shape, and then all of these things that are really physical, and then evolution is also like physical, and then you can't ignore that, you know. You can't accept the evolution part, but it's not the the art part, you know.
I
But I guess
I don't understand why you think evolution equals art.
no, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if you connect the evolution with the what art describes a designer is described as, you know.
It's not. No one describes evolution as art. No one in science.
That's not what I said.
No one thinks art has anything to do with physics, biology, chemistry, history, or any of those fields because it's not art. Art is a thing humans do in their spare time, has nothing to do with reality. There are no designers, nothing in science.
Yeah,
says
but
there is.
that's only if you don't acknowledge the idea of a god, of course.
No. Good question. What do you got for us? I can't hear you. Send me a message if you're saying things and I can't see them.
Yo, can you hear me?
Yep. Martini, what's up?
Hold on. Let me fix my mic. By the way, I'm from the Islam server with your like little debate with Abstra.
Cool.
So I wanted to. You said there's a third option. There's something like aside from contingent and necessary. What is the third option or third
The
choice?
contingent and necessary distinction doesn't exist and neither property exists. That's the third option.
So it doesn't exist outside of the mind. That's what you're saying.
Sort of, yeah. Like there's no property of necessary or contingent in real things. Therefore, no
Yes, and
object.
rationalism.
So like if there's an object
Yeah,
that
go on.
exists and this object is not necessary and it is not contingent, then it's a different thing, right? It's a third thing.
So you're saying in reality, outside of the mind, there is no such thing as contingent or necessary.
Right.
Everything is essentially the same.
Yeah, contingent and
Everything
necessary, made up distinction in the minds of apologists, and it doesn't actually exist in any properties in physics. There's no such thing. Physicists don't say anything is necessary or contingent. Those distinctions don't
Yeah,
exist.
but that's empiricism. I'm talking about rationalism.
What?
Can you define contingency?
Sure, but it's a waste of time because the definition doesn't mean it exists.
Yeah, I know, but can you define contingency so I can see if you have the right meaning?
No, I don't care to right now. So right
No,
now,
you don't know what contingency is. And
no,
you're
I do,
saying
and
it
I've
doesn't
defined it
exist.
many times before. But your
Define it right now. It literally
was,
takes you to it.
bye-bye. So your question was, is there a third option between necessary and contingent? The answer is yes. If nothing is necessary and nothing is contingent, then there is a third thing. So if necessary and contingent are made up definitions in the human mind and they are not properties in reality, then the third thing is the actual property in reality. That's the answer. Good question. Is your mic fixed? Or you can try leaving the server and rejoining and then.
Hello.
Hey.
I'm not quite sure what this is here. I just saw y'all were doing a little call-in show, so I figured I'd pop in here, say hello.
Cool.
I've been dealing with a funny situation recently. I'm currently going into just general film work. I just got into IATSE recently for cinematography and all that, which has been pretty cool. But I've been kind of looking into Scientology particularly because it seems like it'd be a really good career move. I could kind of like transition into doing things like more formally with something sort of like an adjacent like alternative union. Don't have to deal with IATSE much. Don't have as much overhead, and I feel like that would really work well for me. Like my needs and what I'm going to be doing here in the next 10 years. So I guess from an atheist perspective, I'm just kind of curious on how you feel about that.
I think you should convert to the Church of the Best Possible World and do filmmaking for the atheist church. It'd be much better.
But will that offer me a career move? I mean, like so many influential people are Scientologists in Hollywood. I just don't know how many atheists are really going to carry me forward.
Well, there's lots of influential atheists. Like, what are you talking about?
Influential atheists, but not people that would probably be aligned with that particular church. I don't know if atheists are as collective in that regard.
I think it will. I think it's just going to dominate and convert everyone. Everyone's going to become the Church of Atheism soon, so you should join the Church of Atheism.
All right, so I guess I'll just close off with a Baba Booey, Howard starts being his hubba.
Oops. Try saying things. Still can't hear you. Good question. Are you server muted? No, doesn't look like it. I can hear everybody else, so I don't think it's on my end.
Yo,
Hey,
okay, I got the question again.
okay. What's the question?
So, do you think there's any evidence for Christianity?
No. Well, I
Like-
mean, there's evidence it exists, but not evidence it's true.
Okay. What do you think your evidence would be on it?
You mean for it or against it?
Well, let's start with against it.
There's no evidence of any non-physical beings that created the universe. Also, like most of the
Okay.
things in the Bible are wrong. Like Moses didn't exist, Noah didn't exist. There was no global flood. The creation didn't happen in 7 days. The world is not 6,000 years old. No one lived to be 900. Someone didn't turn to salt from facing the wrong direction.
Do you like acknowledge like Jesus though?
Yeah, Jesus existed.
Okay. And then like evidence for it though?
Evidence for what?
Yeah, you said before you said evidence for it.
For what?
Yeah, Christianity.
So Jesus existed, yes, but that's not evidence that Jesus is an all-powerful being who created the universe.
Why do you believe Jesus was actually a real person?
History.
Yeah. Okay, at least you know from history. Not bad.
Sure.
But you don't believe like he's like he like died for us and stuff and like made this that I mean we can be free and stuff and we don't like we are from a sinful nature and stuff.
No, there's no sinful nature. There's no like evidence of an afterlife that we go to heaven or hell based off of Jesus's actions. None of that has any evidence.
But wait, right? I mean, society nowadays, right? I mean, what would you think? Like, would you think that humans are like by nature like evil?
No.
Then why is there so much evil?
Nature kills people. So like every year, nature kills more people than all human atrocities
Yeah,
combined.
but if nature kills people, and let's say, but if nature kills people, and the angry at nature, that just means that have an unforgiving spirit, right?
No. Like
Is that not evil?
no. So I didn't say anything about being angry at nature. I don't care if people are angry at nature. What matters, you asked, was why is there so much evil in the world? I said most of the evil isn't
Yes.
caused by other people. People aren't evil. Most people don't kill other people. Most people don't do evil things. It's nature that's doing most of the evil things.
Okay, wait. So, do you believe that a man can make a baby by himself?
No, not yet.
So, why is society encouraging that thing?
What?
It's your society you're talking about, right? With science and everything, they're saying this is possible.
No, I don't know anyone saying this is possible.
Well, interesting. Anyways, I mean, from my point of view, right? I see that there's a lot of like in the Bible, especially. There's a lot of evidence in the Bible. I mean, I know you might not believe it's true and stuff. I mean, except the Jesus part, right? But
Well, there's a lot of
there's a lot
stuff
of evidence.
that's true in the Bible. So, like, I think
I
the
got-
first
I
historical
can
person,
tell you some.
King David
can tell
was
you
the
some-
first person in the Bible who actually existed.
Like if David existed.
Yeah, King David existed, and a lot of
course.
people after him existed. People before him were all mostly fictitious.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's a lot of hints and stuff. I don't know. I don't know if you like read the Bible like to like that to that level or something. Like,
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I just know there's like a lot of like prediction stuff, and this come to pass, like a lot of prophecies and stuff. I mean, especially there's like a lot of coding too in the Bible. Where, like, back in the day, right? You was not allowed to say the name of you're not allowed to say the name of like the beast, right? And they did like a lot of coding there. I mean, for example, in Revelation 13:18, right? Back in the day, they called the guy that had mark of the beast. They said his name as 666 or 616.
Yes, so,
right?
so a lot of cultures in the past had very fictitious stories that were superstitious, and that they had all these weird symbols that represented things. None of that
Yeah,
means it's true.
and back in the day, they have to use gematria to then find. Back in the day, they had to use gematria to then find the Bible verse.
No,
right?
So,
And then they
gematria
had,
and making letters into numbers isn't anything special. There was actually a guy, Victor Panin, I think was his name, who showed that there were a bunch of 7 patterns in the Bible and said it's so complicated, nobody else could do this, blah 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 blah. And I had somebody bet me $1,000 I couldn't replicate the number patterns in the Bible, and I did it in 3 days and got $1,000. So the number patterns, there's nothing special about it. Mathematically, we know you can find these number patterns in anything. There are no correct prophecies in the Bible that have happened yet. Like, if the stuff in Revelations happened, that would be evidence. But all the prophecies of the past are vague and garbage, and no one really cares about them because they don't indicate anything. So no, the gematria, the prophecies.
but they came to pass, and that's from those are from definitely 2,000 years ago.
No, so for a prophecy to come to pass, it has to be specific. It can't be vague. Like, if there's many different things.
Yeah, but it's not vague. It's not vague.
It is vague. So lots of the prophecies are like, there's one about the 3 horns, the 3-horned goat or 3-horned dragon or something's going to conquer.
And Assyrians further, that dried up recently.
No.
Is that vague too?
Yeah. Did it
and
give
it's
us,
over
did it give us a
2,000 years
year?
ago.
Did it give us a year that it's going to dry up? Did it say in
Yes.
this year? Where? Show me in the Bible.
On the second day, it said on the second day. It said on the second day, and maybe not years, but on the second day, it would dry up.
Okay, and how many different years could that be? Like, what possible year could that be? Could it be 20 years ago?
And it said at the
50 years ago?
dawn, basically. It said at the dawn, basically.
Right, and which?
I don't know if you know it, but it said at the dawn of second day, the river will dry up.
Which?
And
so what do you think specific means?
Or the start of second day. I'm not really sure.
What do you think specific means versus ambiguous, or ambiguous versus specific? What's the difference?
Well, specifically, it stated.
No. What do you think the difference between the words? What is the word specific versus the word ambiguous? What is the difference between those words?
Ambiguous.
Typically,
Never heard of that word.
It means it can be interpreted in many different ways.
Okay.
And specific means it can only be interpreted in a very specific way. It's like 1 + 1 = 2, very specific. Or if I say Lincoln will die in 1779, that's very specific. There's 1 year of all of the years.
But the Bible is very specific because it's God's word.
Wait, so the second day, the morning of the second day, which year could that be? It could be any year, right? That could be any of the infinite number of years.
No.
So what do you think? Which
if
years?
You know gematria, then you can literally calculate that thing.
No, again, gematria is arbitrary. You can make any number connection you want to get any year you want in the Bible, because gematria and number correlations can be read in many, many different ways. That's why there are more prophecies in Moby Dick than there are in the Bible. Like, it specifically says the year Lincoln and JFK are going to die, not because it predicted those things, but because of, if you just find numerical correlations, you can find any kind of correlation you want in any book.
Yeah, but you can't really deny that it predicted it.
I just showed how it did not. Brenda, what do you got for us? I cannot hear you right now.
Yeah, I think it's muted. I think he's muted.
I think it's like the Discord glitch where it doesn't pick up your microphone right away, and you have to like leave and reconnect to get it to work or something.
Yeah, of course. I mean, when I was talking about the revelation, of course, I think you probably already know it. You know what I mean by it.
Yeah.
Like you add the 616 and it has 13, like it's equals 13, and 666 is 18. You know, and that's how they used to find, the verse.
No,
of
so
course.
numerology is a modern invention that didn't exist in the Bible. You can just Google numerology of the Bible. It does not work. It's already been debunked many
Yeah,
times.
but okay, but if it didn't exist, then why would the quoting be specifically in that book, right?
Because all Jewish words had numbers associated with them. It's not because it actually meant anything.
Yeah, but how does it connect with it?
It doesn't. There is no connection. It's arbitrary.
Yeah, but if you add 616 and then 666,
So again, all of
and
those
it
numbers.
and it exacts it to the same verse.
It doesn't.
How is that no connection?
It doesn't. Google numerology of the Bible. There's entire papers showing how this does not work. Google numerology of the Bible. Gorski, what do you got? Can you speak? Can I hear you?
Can I speak? Can you
Yes.
hear me?
Yes, I can.
Just
Brenda,
chilling in chat.
Brenda, try
Brenda.
to rejoin because I cannot hear you at all. Nope, still nothing. Can you hear Brenda?
I do not hear anything, no, from her.
Gotcha. All right, anybody else got any questions, comments, conversations about God, morality, philosophy? Martini.
Yo, TJump.
Yep.
Hold on, TJump. Do you know how to define contingency now?
Yes,
Like, did you take your time?
I do, but I'm not going to.
Wow, not a lot of people want to just come and join in and talk. Really?
Yep.
I noticed that.
Mostly.
Yeah, I mean, I think you said before, like more conversations about like God and stuff.
What?
Let's see what I got here. So, why do you not believe that Jesus was crucified?
I think he was crucified.
Okay, so you believe he's crucified too.
Yep.
But then you would also have to then that's contradiction to what you said before.
No.
Because you said we don't have a natural sinful nature in us.
Right.
And Jesus' main reason for crucifying was to free us from that.
No, Jesus was crucified because the Jews didn't
We
like
were
that he was
sinful, yeah, we were sinful,
No.
and he crucified.
No, Jesus was crucified by Pontius Pilate because the Jews gave him up and saying he was pretending to be God, and so they wanted him to be crucified. It had nothing to do with our sins. There's no sin there.
So you believe in Jesus but not God, though?
In what?
I mean, so you believe in Jesus and he was crucified, but you don't believe in God.
Right. Just like I believe in Santi Sai Baba, but I don't believe in Brahman.
Man, it's crazy. It's crazy how people just like twist stuff, man. Really.
How is that?
I mean, as long as I guess as long as believe what you want, bro. At this point.
Okay.
Believe what you want at this point, bro. But yeah,
David, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, of course.
So you believe Jesus Christ rose from the dead, right? After 3 days?
Yeah, of course.
What convinced you of that?
Yeah, evidence, of course.
What evidence?
Not physical evidence.
Non-physical evidence.
Yes, of course. But I mean, of course, I don't know if you like spiritual evidence though. The spiritual evidence. The physical evidence, spiritual evidence.
I don't know what that is. What do you mean spiritual evidence?
Come on, bro. Do you know when you smoke or when you I don't know if anyone smokes or drinks, right? But I think when people smoke and drink, they say that in a completely different world. they're in a different world, you know. I mean, and it's not them, right? It's not them, you know. It's not really them.
No, I
And
don't. I don't know.
and
What do
also
you mean?
dreams, right? Also dreams. Remember, like remember you dream something, and after that, after some few days, it just happens, right? And it says also that spiritual world, right? What happens in the physical world already happened in the spiritual world, right? So I have like spiritual evidence, but I mean, of course, where's the physical evidence? Everyone's gonna say, where's the physical evidence? All you need to do is have faith in my words, right? But no one has that, right? I have faith in like Jesus' word and the Bible, what it says, right? If you want to, let's say you're going to talk about your dream and what you dreamt and stuff, and people don't believe you, right? Like, they're going to say the same thing. Where's the physical evidence? Just trust my word. Like, it's simple. Like,
Well, dreams are just in your head. Why do you believe that this
yeah,
is
but why
just
when
in your
people dream,
imagination?
right? Why after some few days it might come to pass? Why? And how does
Why?
it happen? Explain
Why?
that.
Hold on. Ask that question one more time, please.
Why when you dream and then you dream about something and that comes to pass after some few days?
So you're asking
How did that happen?
you're asking for an explanation on what I think some people call precognitive dreams. Am I right?
Exactly.
Yeah, we have the whole world dreaming constantly every night for an entire
Yeah,
lifetime.
but okay, but how
Eventually,
does it
some
come to
of those
pass?
eventually some
How
of
does
those
some of those
dreams are
things come
going
to
to
pass? How does
eventually,
some,
after billions of dreams from a billion people every night, some of those things are going to map onto reality by chance. It has to.
bro, you guys always somehow find an excuse to like not.
It's not an excuse, it's a reason.
Well. Mm. Well, anyways, I mean, I got another question. Basically, you know, I want to ask you. I mean, TJump.
Okay.
Do you believe that there is like aliens and stuff? Do you like
Alien.
believe that, or
They are
yeah,
probably out there. I don't think any of them have come to Earth ever.
yeah? But wait, you acknowledge there's aliens though?
Probably, yeah.
Wow.
They're
Well.
not here.
They're not here. Prove us evidence. Physical evidence, bro.
No, there isn't. By the way, Tom, I worked out what the problem was. That I'm really dumb. I had push to talk enabled and forgot.
No problem.
You know, and we don't see the aliens, so it proves us the physical evidence. You know, I just feel like people just believe, you know, what the world says. You know, that's just it, bro.
That's why I said probably. I agree. There is no physical evidence of aliens. That's true. I'm inductively concluding there are probably aliens based on the number of planets that there are.
But science says, right? Science says, yeah. I mean, you know, there could be aliens, so you have the same opinion, right? I mean, you have faith in science, you know. I mean, just like I have faith in my Bible, so I just feel like this should not be like battles against faith. You know, I feel like we should like embrace like each other's opinions, you know, and you know, be like really honest about it. You know,
No,
like
I don't
being honest.
I don't have
I
faith
think,
in science. Science has been demonstrated to
yeah,
work.
but faith means by your science basically says.
No, faith means a belief without evidence. Science has evidence, so science isn't faith.
Really, bro?
Yes, that is.
Really, bro?
Yes.
Say,
faith
David.
means trust, confidence, insurance, and belief.
No.
It does by the definition.
No. Faith.
I mean, yeah, belief is there too. I mean, I'm not disagreeing that belief is definitely a faith. Like having faith in God is of course it's a belief. Yeah, it can also be completely wrong, right? But yo, I still have faith in that.
Faith is a
it could also be completely wrong, but it's just like science, right? I mean, before things are proven, they have to first be tested out if it's even wrong, right?
Sure.
Like, Exactly. So that means those people that have to test it out have to have faith that the project is actually gonna work.
No.
Right? Just like AI, right? When they're gonna build those robots and
No.
everything, they need to
No.
think that it's not. They need to know that it's
No.
not gonna explode. And
No, you don't know
They
what's
need to
going to
test
happen.
stuff.
So, like when we were designing nuclear bombs, we didn't know if they were going to work or not. So you don't need to
Yeah,
know
you
if
have to have
it's going to
faith
work.
in it. You have to have trust, and you have to have trust that it's gonna work out
No.
or not.
No, you don't.
Confidence gonna work out.
No, you don't.
Yes,
No.
but if you disagree, it's okay. You know.
So faith is a belief without evidence. If you have evidence, you don't need faith. You just have a belief. Belief, a justified
Yeah,
belief,
but
isn't
there has to be some point of time where the evidence can be proven, right?
what?
Or not. There has to be some point of time where the evidence was not there. You can't act like the evidence just came. The evidence was always there. It was not always there. We're not like in this flesh, in human flesh. We're not eternal.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, presumably, before you were born, you had no evidence, right? Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But before the project, there was no evidence too, or not?
I have no idea.
Or was
what
the
you're
evidence
talking
before
about.
the project, and then we're gonna go back to to 6,000 years, and there was evidence there, bro? It's just no.
I have absolutely
I just-
no idea what you are talking about right now.
You can't have evidence. You can't have evidence before there was no evidence. As simple as that.
Sure.
So at one point of time, I'm thinking from your point of view, right?
Sure. At one
You're
point, there
saying
was
that
no evidence of
there
DNA,
was-
and then there was evidence. Of DNA.
Exactly. Yeah, and you had to be confident and have faith that this DNA existed.
No.
Right,
So
because-
at one point, we did not think DNA existed. And then we got evidence, and then we said, yes, DNA exists. So you can have a hypothesis with no evidence. You can have any hypothesis you want. Hypothesis is just, I think this thing might exist.
But
then-
even if it's thinking, you have to trust your own idea, which still defines
You can
faith.
have a hypothesis without faith. You can have a hypothesis is just, I think this might exist. I don't know if it does or not. That's
Yeah,
all it
but
is.
you said think. You said think right there. You just said think.
I think this might exist. Yes.
I think this might exist, but you're still thinking that it exists, and that's
No.
still faith.
No. Might is not the same.
Bro.
Right,
John.
David.
John, what do you got for us?
I wanted to talk to him about transgender issues.
Oh, we can go back to that. He's probably going to come back up later because nobody else is raising their hand. So, John, what do you got?
Do you believe in dark matter?
Dark matter is a label for a phenomenon. So the phenomenon exists, sure.
So do you think this thing exists?
Whatever is causing it exists, because dark matter is again
Oh,
just a
really?
phenomenon. Yeah.
So you affirm there's a cause and effect theory in relation to this phenomenon.
Cause and effect is a label we use to describe phenomenon in the world. Cause and effect doesn't exist.
Okay, so why do you presuppose a cause, i.e., dark matter?
We don't presuppose a cause. We use induction to say that, oh, look, phenomenon are caused by things. There's a phenomenon that's probably caused by a thing.
Well, that's why cause and effect theory, since they're energies that are naturally distinct from dark matter, i.e., the thing, the unknown substance. So scientists presuppose there has to be a causality in relation to the effects, which are called energies.
We don't presuppose anything.
Well, there's a distinction between essence and energy. This is supported by modern physics.
There's no essence in physics. Essences don't exist.
Unknown essence.
Sure, but as far as I know, everything is energy. There isn't a non-energy thing.
So you know that dark matter is never directly observed, right?
Yes, that's why we don't know what it is. We observe that something is
Okay,
happening.
so why do you think this thing exists?
Because the thing is happening.
How do you know that?
Because we can observe it happening.
So you can't directly observe it, but you can observe at the same time.
Yeah, this is called indirect observation. It's when you observe a phenomenon. Like we don't directly observe neutrinos. We've never seen a neutrino exactly. But what we have observed is the consequences of neutrinos. We can shoot it through argon and it makes bubbles. So we have never
okay.
seen a neutrino, but we know neutrinos exist because of the indirect effects that they have.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep. And what is that called? It's called the cause and effect.
No, it's called indirect observation.
Yeah, dude, it's literally called cause and effect. You just conceded.
Like cause and effect isn't a thing in physics. There's no law of cause and effect in physics. It doesn't exist.
Hold on. Yeah, let me answer. So you're saying dark matter, this thing has to exist since the effects of it that's proceeding from this thing, which are energies, right? So you're basically saying dark matter exists for this specific reason.
No, again, cause and effect don't exist in physics. What exists in physics
Okay.
is physical laws. So you're confusing the labels we use to describe things like cause and effect with the actual laws that cause things.
Okay, the things that are moving is the energy, right? That drives motion and transformation. But where is this thing? Like, how's this thing happening? Why do you believe there's dark matter? Why can't it just be energy?
Dark matter is the fact that galaxies are rotating faster than what they could given the known amount of mass that they have, which means there either has to be a greater amount of mass or a greater amount of gravity. And so, in order to explain the amount of rotation that the stars have in the galaxies, there needs to be something else doing it other than the known forces. That's dark matter, whatever the something else is.
Perfect. Okay, so hold on. So this is really simple now. So we just concluded that. So hold on. So you don't believe they have to have direct evidence for everything,
Right.
because you're just using your rational intellect thought to prove this.
No, remember I literally said there's this thing called indirect observation, which is not
Yeah,
direct
that's through
observation.
energies. That's through energies.
What?
Indirect observation. What are you observing here in reality, right? You're observing the energies. That's not energies are not identical to dark matter, are they? They're not at all. They're distinct.
No, everything is energy, so dark matter is going to be energy too.
Okay, I'm saying okay, sure. So you don't believe there's a distinction between dark energies and dark matter?
What dark energy is a different phenomenon. Energy is not dark energy.
Yeah, no. Okay, I'm talking about dark energies. There's a dual nature of these things. They're literally distinct.
Dark energy and dark matter are not at all the same. They're completely
Yeah, I
different
know. That's what I'm saying, right? Dark energy is not identical to dark matter.
Right.
But what are the effects? What are the effects called?
The dark energy is the expansion rate of the universe, which goes faster than the speed of light.
So those are called the effects.
Yeah, which is a label. Effects don't exist.
Okay, simple. Okay, and we know that dark.
Okay, next person.
Yo. I heard one guy wanted to ask me about like the whole LGBTQ thing. I don't know who was it.
Brenda, you there?
Yeah.
Yeah, what did they want to ask me about?
What do you have against transgenders?
Man, I mean, man, like really right now, like the church especially, is like divided like into like maybe 2 or 3 groups. Like on the other side, like people support, and the other side, people like.
Hey David,
man.
it's against
What are
the
your
server
views?
rule. Hey David, it's against the server rules to intentionally misgender, so please refrain from doing that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Okay. Anyways, I mean, on the other side, there's people that support, and there's other side that people don't, right? I mean, when it comes to the church, but what I don't have anything really against transgender. For all I know, right? The Bible says it says clearly that sexual immorality, all of these things is a sin, and because
What sin have I committed? What sin have I committed?
Wait, are you transgender?
Yes.
Yeah. The sin you committed basically is going against how God made you. He made you a man.
Is that a
And you're
sin?
going
Where's
against.
that? Can you show me the verse where it says that's a sin? It doesn't say that anywhere in the Bible.
Of course.
What do you mean? Of course. Show me the verse.
I will tell you like what the verse is, what the name of the verse is.
Okay, what is it?
Okay.
Googling hard. I detect hard Googling going on here.
Corinthians 6:18.
And what does it say?
And what does it say? It says Corinthians 6:18, flee from sexual morality, all other sins a person commits are outside the body, but whoever sins sexually.
Yeah, what sexual sin have I committed?
Yeah, being
David?
transgender isn't a sexual anything. There's no sexual act going on with just being a different gender.
Let's say I've transitioned. I'm a transgender from male to female, but I've never had sex with a man. Or let's say I'm celibate. Yeah, I'm celibate. What sin have I committed?
Yeah, going against God. How he make you?
That verse doesn't show that. It says
Yeah, but
talks
there's
about
more. There's more. There's like 14 verses. I don't know if you want me to read them all right now, or I don't know if you want me to send the link. There's 14 verses about sexual morality. It's 14.
Yeah, one would
14,
be good.
14, not 14.
Just one that says something about transgender being a sin would be good.
Okay. Say.
It's probably just because you feel like sort of sexually attracted to some transgenders, but you know they have a penis, and so that.
I mean,
makes
it says basically in Timothy 8:11. I mean, there's so much verses, man. So I mean, I don't know if you guys want me to read 40 verses.
Just
I want you to read the verse.
one.
Yeah, the one that supports your claim.
Look, Mark 6, 10, 6 to 9. But from the beginning of the creation, God made them male and female. So simple.
Yeah, but being wrong isn't a sin. You can believe false things and not be a sin, right?
It's not about belief. It's the word, bro.
Right, but so if someone's transgender, even if there's only two genders and God made two genders, that would not be a sin. They'd just be incorrect, right?
Bro, come on. It says, but the beginning from the creation, God made them male and female.
Right.
He didn't make them any other way. He made them any other way.
So is it a sin to believe the universe is like billions of years old?
Yeah, but the thing is like I mean, with especially with the transing, I mean, that's basically transitioning. Yeah, transitioning. I mean, sorry if my English not that good, but especially with the transitioning.
Is there a point coming along here sometime? Is there going to be a point? Right. So let's imagine that I have grown up never hearing of the Bible or Christianity. I felt
that's almost impossible nowadays. So that's almost impossible.
Not really.
Mm-hmm.
Hypothetical. It's my hypothetical.
Yeah.
Right. So I grew up never knowing about Christianity, never hearing about the Bible, never reading it. I had these feelings. The doctor where I live prescribed hormones and medications, and I transitioned from male to female. I've been celibate the entire time, never committed any kind of sexual acts. What sin have I committed according to the Bible?
Well, it's still sin, but you didn't willfully do it. And also, if you're really young, if you're like really young, right? If you're really young, then you don't really you don't understand what right and you don't know you don't understand what's right from bad. So
Just
you don't know
stick
what's
to the Bible.
wrong.
Just stick to dude. Just stick to number one. When you have a thought, it doesn't mean you can open up your mouth, right? You can shut your mouth and wait until the person is finished. Secondly, right? Stick to the Bible. Tell me the verse that shows that being transgender is a sin. Otherwise, sit down and go in the corner.
I'm not saying what I think, bro.
Wait,
bro, I'm just saying the word. I mean, there's another word. Of course, it says Timothy 8:11.
David. Yeah. What verse does it say being transgender is a sin? That's all we want to know.
I can tell you the verse, man.
Go ahead.
I mean, I told you all these 3 verses, bro.
But none of those verses said that being transgender is a sin. That's the problem.
Okay. I'll show you the verse now. Timothy 8:11, right? We know that the law is good if one uses it properly. We also know that the law is made not for the righteous but for the lawbreakers and rebels, the ungodly and sinful, the unholy and irreligious, those who kill their fathers or mothers, for murders, for the sexual immorality, for those who practice homosexual, for slave traders and liars and perpetrators, and for whatever else is I don't even know what that word is.
Words are hard, aren't they? Words are hard.
Contradict.
I mean, they're
Contrary to the sound doctrine that confirms to the gospel concerning the glory of the blessed God which he entrusted me. You know?
yeah. None of that says anything about transgenders.
Well, actually, so that last sentence.
Homosexuality, bro. Come on.
Well,
How'd you miss the word?
Transgender isn't homosexual, so those aren't the same thing. Like, you can be transgender and be asexual, not be attracted to anybody. So being transgender is not being homosexual. Those aren't the same thing. Maybe you did not know that. But I think the last part he said, where it was like anything contradicting the word of God or whatever, like that one could potentially be interpreted that way. So if like you just disagree with anything in the Bible, that could fit into that interpretation.
Bro, come on, dog. I mean, I've went back and forth with you guys now for like how much? Like an hour now.
Sure. Yeah, we should move on to somebody else. That is a good point. Fibdo, where's Fibdo?
Yeah, that was all I needed to.
Oh yeah,
that
Bible verse was actually an argument that could be interpreted in a way that any disagreement with the facts stated in the Bible would be a sin, and so that's a legitimate argument against transgenderism and science and physics as well.
Sure.
Fibdo, what do you?
Yeah, actually, well, so the first verse that people would bring up would be Deuteronomy 22:5. A man shall not dress as a woman is an abomination.
I don't think being transgender means you necessarily have to dress anyway either. So that would not be.
It's not about clothing, though. What they're attempting to do is make their appearance to be as if they're the opposite gender, sex, however they want to interpret it.
Well, being transgender doesn't imply that you have to dress or change your appearance in any way. You don't need to change your appearance to be transgender.
Yeah. So if you're a transgender, let's just say female, you biologically are male, and what do you think the next steps are? Do you think that they don't attempt to make their appearance look like a female?
They may or may not, but those are two separate things. So whether or not
your
appearance
yeah,
isn't the same as being transgender.
Yeah. Well, then the issue would be, okay, well, if you were transgender and you do happen to change your appearance, you would be then breaking the law.
Okay. So, but then just being transgender, there's nothing actually against that specifically.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, to be transgender, to be confused about reality is not a sin. But they would be breaking the most important commandment, which is to love the Lord thy God. Anybody who does not do this is breaking the commandment.
How is that?
Let's see. Yeah, I found out about Jesus after I transitioned, and I've been celibate my whole life, and I love Jesus, but I'm still transgender.
Yeah.
And I don't.
When you say you're transgender, what does that mean?
It means I transitioned from male to female.
Yeah.
Male to female gender.
Yeah. Well, so do you speak that? Well, I don't know if you're because there are transgenders that I know who are now Catholic. They hold true to the faith. They struggled with transgender. They currently do. They have these thoughts, so they think that they're not who they should be, and it's sad. And I sit with them and I talk with them, and these are people who I see are truly repentant of what they've done. And I honestly, my heart's broken for the situation that they're in. That the state of confusion. I don't know how one reaches that point. But
they're not confused. That's one thing that's important is they're not confused.
Well, no, but this person, now they're not confused. Yes, they know the truth, but they still struggle with these issues.
No.
So it's less of a confusion. It's more of a angst, anxiety.
What's the truth?
The truth is Jesus is Lord.
Well, they're not struggling with that if they're believers. They're not struggling with that. There's no struggle with that if you believe.
Yeah. Well, the next truth would also be what the Bible prescribes, that God made distinctions between man and woman. It's not iffy. It's not fluid.
Yeah. So he's not. Those people are not wearing the clothes of the opposite sex, right? So that can't
Or
be
in the
the problem.
clothes of the opposite sex. Okay, well,
That
if
can't
these
be the
individuals are trying to even appear as if they're the opposite sex, then they would be breaking these commandments.
What does that mean? Appear.
What does that mean to try to appear as the opposite sex? Look, if somebody comes in and accuses you of, let's just say, appearing as the opposite sex, you're not intentionally doing it. You may see like where people get this kind of confusion, whatever. That wouldn't be breaking the law. The heart of the law is that you would identify as either, well, the masculine that God has made you to be, or Eve, the helpmate, who, which in the Hebrew it means the opposite. It's to endorse that this person is not the same as you.
Adam's bitch. Yeah, Adam's bitch.
Yes.
Right?
Wait, what?
Adam's bitch, right?
What?
That's how that
Why would
works.
you use foul language?
Oh, because that's what you're using. You're
That's not what I'm saying. Oh, hold on.
You
Wait,
call
wait.
women-
When I
you
say
call
helpmate,
women-
what?
Yes.
Helpmate does not mean that.
That's exactly what it means.
Does it? No. Does the Hebrew say that?
Never mind. No, you're
Yeah,
too
exactly. Yeah, no. It means the opposite. Actually, it means it's his opposite, his counterpart. It's to bring him to completeness. Marriage is a beautiful sight before God, and it's perfect within how God prescribes it.
I don't call my help anything equal to me. My help isn't equal to me.
Helpmate.
Yeah.
Helpmate. This is a partner.
No.
Okay, so how about this? God says, well, he says this. You say you're a believer, right? You agree with the text of the Bible.
No, I'm an atheist, dummy.
No, I think he means.
You're not.
In this
Okay.
analogy,
I thought you were serious.
Or in this analogy, you said you began with. So suppose I had never heard about Jesus and I transitioned, then I heard about Jesus, something like that.
Yeah,
okay. So you never heard about.
I was still using the hypothetical. In that hypothetical, this person, since that confuses you, this person never heard of Christianity or anything like that, committed no sins. They have transitioned from masculine to feminine in their appearance, right? So they love Jesus. Loving Jesus is not a struggle for this person, right? Their struggle is with how they feel internally, being either masculine or feminine, and how society deems they ought to feel.
Yeah. Well, it depends on your perception of what love is, and to follow somebody. Jesus says those are truly followers of mine. They do as I say. This is the marker of a Christian. Those that do as I say, that's the prescription to physically show that you are a disciple of Christ. Now, let's just say you don't do that. You profess the faith. You don't do that. You deny everything that was told to you.
Wait.
You wouldn't. That's a good marker and indicator that you're not a Christian. You don't care. You'd rather have these idols that are prompted up.
So, Fipto, everyone's a sinner, right? Everyone falls short of the glory of God, right? So everybody does something that isn't in line with what Jesus says, right? So the fact that there are, like, obviously, if you did nothing that Jesus said, that would be a good indicator you're not a Christian. But having one or two areas that you fall short wouldn't necessarily indicate you're not a Christian. So say there's a transgender person, and the only way they don't follow Jesus is that one commandment, but everything else they do, then they could be better Christians than like most Christians.
Yeah. Well, I'd say the best marker of a Christian is a life of submittance to Christ. And that doesn't mean you're going to orchestrate yourself perfectly. Like, I don't think everybody's going to be walking in the spirit of truth perfectly. They're not going to love God perfectly. I can't love God perfectly each and every day. So I'd fall under this weight of condemnation as well.
Sure.
But the real marker is, okay.
Dial it back a little bit. Dude, have a conversation. Have a conversation.
I think he's trying to. I think he's trying.
Well, you just don't want to hear it. That's what this is.
Well, so you agree that you can have some areas that you don't live up to Jesus, and so what would be the difference between you and the areas you don't live up, and a transgender person who is Christian not having areas they don't live up to it?
Okay, so living perfectly wasn't the requirement. The requirement was, well, submittance to Jesus, at least making the attempt. When you tell Christ, okay, this is an off-limits area of yourself. You are not above this area that I prompted up before you. This would be an idol. This is identified as an idol, and especially in Romans 1. I mean, it says that we prompt up idols and we prompt up things before God. These things, this is what's going to barricade you from actually living as a true follower of Christ. Putting things before God is putting them in the place of God. And if you put them in the place of God, that is your God. Jesus wouldn't be your God. That would be your God.
Okay, but none of that is.
So if you say like my sexuality is off limits, Jesus, there's an issue now.
Okay, but I don't think transgenderism implies that you're saying your sexuality is off limits. Like there are many people who are like LGBTQ who are still Christian, and they're not saying their sexuality is off limits. That's not a thing.
Well, arguably, I mean, I think if you identify under the LGBTQ flag rather than the Christ flag, you've prompted up an idol. So I couldn't say. I could say they're Christians in name only.
Wait, they're not mutually exclusive. You can be LGBTQ and Christian.
Not really.
There are lots of them.
Yeah, have you heard of a what's the word? It's kind of like, it's not rhetorical. It's like geez, I hate trying to remember this word. It's like basically you're identifying as something that is counterintuitive. It's like basically breaking the law of non-contradiction.
Cognitive
dissonance? It's basically you're identifying as something contrary to the belief systems you actually hold. Oxymoron. It's an oxymoron to say that you're like an LGBT Christian. That's the word.
Well,
How is that an
So that would go back to what I was saying earlier. Like you can do sins and still be a Christian, right? So you can acknowledge that you have beliefs that are contrary, or that you have feelings contrary to what your religion espouses, and acknowledge that you struggle with sin and still be a sinner, but you're still a Christian.
Yes, but it's about submittance, and it's about whether or not you're actually willing to give these things up. Because if you say, Jesus, hands off my gender, my sexuality, hands off my finances, hands off all these other areas, you put these things above Christ, you're not a Christ follower. No, you're a follower of these things.
There needs to be total submission. Is that right?
Well, yes, because if you put anything above God, you've equated it. You that is God. That's your God.
That doesn't follow.
That does follow. If you put anything above God, the Creator, that is your God. That's what you esteem to follow.
It doesn't follow that if I have other goals and purposes in my life than Jesus, it doesn't follow that those are.
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying at all.
That's what you said.
That's not what I'm saying. You're trying to straw man it, and you're trying to make it sound as like as bad faith as possible. Actually, no. What I'm saying is when you put these things before. How about this? Even let's say you even want this next job, but you receive revelation from God in some way that this job is not for you. It will corrupt you. It will whatever. God just deems this is not for you. If you say, no, God, I want this job. You have no place over this. You wouldn't be a Christ follower.
Yes, I would.
No. Identifiably. No, you'd be an idol worshiper. You would be an enemy opposed against God of the Bible.
Complete and total submission. You're taking it to one extreme. You can hold somebody as or some entity as a god without complete and total submission of everything to it. That does, it doesn't follow that if you worship an entity as a god, that you must necessarily totally submit everything in your life. You don't have to. Right?
Actually, it does. It does. Jesus says this, actually. Those that cannot give up their lives, those that can't hate their mothers, fathers, and all that, they can't truly be followers of his, because if you hold anything above him, you set yourself up for failure already. You're going to put those things before him.
But
that's not truly living in submission and following Christ.
Right, you're saying that.
No. I'm not saying that you have to hate them. No, but if let's just say this scenario-wise,
Wait. So I think
let's look at the scenario of Abraham. The scenario of Abraham was that he would give up his son's life.
One sec. So
well, hold on. I'm just saying.
Well,
let me get this out.
One sec. So it seems like, based on Fipto's interpretation of the Bible, he's saying that
it's not my interpretation.
It is definitely.
It's not interpretation at all. It's made very plain and clear.
Based on Fipto's interpretation of the Bible, if you disagree with this interpretation of something in text, and you think that it's not that way, then you're putting that thing above God. Whereas what you could actually be, from the perspective of a different interpretation of the Bible, they think God actually meant this in a different way than what you meant, in which case they're not placing it above God, because God meant it in a different way than the way you think he meant it. So in that way, they could say that being LGBTQ,
which peoples are you talking about?
Progressive interpretations of the Bible, Andy Stanley.
Okay.
Like, there are lots of people who, there's a very, very common interpretations that don't think that literal interpretations.
You can struggle with homosexuality and be a Christian. I never said that.
Sure.
Yeah, but to identify before Christ, I mean, I see it all the time. People who identify as LGBT, before they'd even think to identify as a Christ follower, someone living in submittance in the salvation that they've received from Christ, they'd rather identify as LGBT.
That doesn't make any sense.
That is a clear sign.
No sense. So, like,
it does. It makes a lot of sense. I've talked to plenty of these people. They say that they profess the faith, but these are things that they are not willing to give up on. First, they say the Bible doesn't say anything against it. Then they say, well, they don't have to follow it.
Yeah, so it's not your interpretation. That's perfectly fine. But the fact that people identify as one label before a different label has nothing to do with some kind of metaphysical rule that they worship that one thing.
But further on,
I do want to give other people.
Well, further on in the Bible, you do know Peter makes a statement.
I do want to give other people a chance to talk, because we've been going on this one for a while. So, Alva, what do you got?
I actually kind of had a question for Fipto, if you don't mind bringing him back in.
All right.
Just for a second.
I don't see him anymore.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, there he is. Found him.
Okay. Fipto.
Okay.
So, just to make this very explicit, say somebody desires in their wholest of hearts, they identify with Christianity, but they have to assume some level of sin to be able to act upon their desire to embrace that. So in the scenario I'm going to give is like, say an individual is like they have suffered with severe suicidality for most all their life, and like very severe, and to the point at which like they have nearly acted upon it many times, but they found like a fix, and that was medically transitioning. Would you prefer them not transition to be able to better live a life honoring God? Like, would you rather somebody not live a life making the active attempt to honor God, in your view, than they have to assume some level of, I'm not going to do this perfectly, to be able to act it out in the best of their capacity?
Okay. Does this assume that there are no other options?
Yes.
Okay. I think the issue is there are
yeah, Fipto, you're roboting, Fipto.
Options.
Fipto, you're roboting. You're roboting. We can't understand what you're saying.
Yeah, the main point I was going to like show is that in many cases, there has been historically people who have assumed some level of sin in their life, both in the moment and historically, such as people who have gone to prison for
Yeah,
murder
am I able to
and then
be
found
heard?
God.
Yeah, I think it's better.
Now you are.
Yeah, it seems better now.
Or maybe not.
Maybe not. No, I can't hear you at all.
Like,
All right.
it's probably not the best analogy to give, but like, because it is kind of destructive to the concept of being trans, but like, or queer to any extent. But I know there are many people in prison who have committed murder, but they found themselves to become a better person through living the preachings of the Bible and implementing that in their life when they have gone to prison, and that has helped them like rehabilitate themselves. And I think to discount that in the sense that like somebody's going to, I think it's like very odd to say we should completely wholesale reject trans people as a whole when many of them actually make the active attempt to not let that inhibit their ability to be a good person living in the virtues of God.
Well, I wanted to move
He said
on
he's
to.
back.
I wanted to move on to some other topics because we're giving to like an hour now. So
Yeah.
Oh,
Do
okay.
you don't need me up here anymore, do you?
yeah, you guys can go away if you wanted to just talk to them.
Yeah, I'll just go back down.
Cool. Metajas, what do you got? Metajas.
I think that perhaps the stock of God is taken a little too literally, in the sense that you need to, I think, look at the Bible as a collection of stories. So if you look at mythology in ancient Greece, we see that every kind of story actually carries a message that is supposed to be transmitted into the civilization. So, for example, the story of Hephaestus and Pandora. It is a story about how there needs to be a little age gap in marriage because Pandora was 15 years old and Hephaestus was 60 something years old. This way, you can, for example, look at in the Old Testament how it is said that you need to not eat crawfish. Crawfish are not allowed in the Old Testament, and you need to figure out why this is.
Well, what's your point? So, like, stories were made to convey messages. Yes. Therefore, what?
Therefore, following these stories will lead to greater success in life.
So what? So, like, there are lots of stories that can give us insight into leading better lives, but that doesn't matter. They're not true.
It doesn't matter because even if they aren't true, they convey a message that can be truthfully, or it can truthfully impact your life.
So can Harry Potter. So what? Does that mean Harry Potter and religion are equivalent?
No, because Harry Potter is not meant to convey a positive message.
Yes, it is. That's literally what all books are meant to do. They literally convey positive messages. Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Harry Potter, they're all meant to convey positive messages. That's a theme in the story.
These are heroes' journeys. They are not equivalent.
So why do you think they're not equivalent?
Because the stories that were written inside of the Bible were selected for evolutionarily.
So
the
is
groups
Harry
that
Potter.
okay, you need to elaborate on why.
So
Harry
all of
Potter
the stories in big theatrical books are stories of like hard work, working together, friendship. All of these things are selected for by evolution because they were successful social traits in order to get people to function better in society. So all of the common stories and tropes that we use in these big stories are specifically designed by evolution to be socially beneficial, which is why that we like them. It's why we like these kinds of stories. So yes, those were evolutionarily selected for.
But you agree that some stories inside of the Bible today are not positively viewed.
Sure, lots of stories are not positively viewed. There's lots of evolutionary things which are not positive.
Well, would you? Okay, the elaboration is that groups that ate crawfish had a disadvantage because eating raw crawfish initiated disease spreading into a population, and so preventing people from eating crawfish meant that they could not get exposed to diseases, and it made them more successful.
How is this different from Harry Potter?
Because Harry Potter does not put restrictions on diet or on behavior.
Not
It's not
all stories.
authoritarian.
Not all stories put restrictions on behavior or diet. Why does putting restrictions on behavior or diet matter? Like eating crawfish now is perfectly fine. So the fact that the Bible did that then, while it was helpful then, is completely useless now, and so it's completely meaningless to have such a restriction now.
Well, some things can be revealed later through time.
I have no idea. Again, so it's just a story with some principles that are used to control society. Okay, I would.
And therefore, they lead to the success of a select group of people.
Okay.
And is this not true?
Sort of it's true, but the fact of its usefulness is irrelevant.
What do you mean? If it wasn't useful, it wouldn't be so widespread.
Yeah, but being widespread is also irrelevant. We don't care if it's widespread. We care if it's true.
Matis, could I ask you a question?
This is a way too literal way of viewing the world.
No.
Why can't things be stories that carry a message? Why do they have to
They
contain
can be.
absolute
We just don't
truth?
care. We don't care if they're stories that can contain a message. We care if they're true. So yes.
Wouldn't you think that? Could I say? Wouldn't it be better off if you know the facts about this situation? So, like, it's the same thing with pork and trigonosis and whatnot. Once we understand more about it, like that's what we should be basing our actions on. Otherwise, you can be wrong sometimes, and not only that, but like you're not basing it off of the actual facts, which can lead to bad outcomes. So if you're starving and you're going to avoid crawfish, you're going to avoid pork, shellfish. Once you actually understand the facts, you're going to be able to base that off of what's true, which will lead to a better outcome. Wouldn't you agree with that?
In cases of starvation, various Abrahamic religions have put like leeways into being able to eat some foods. Like, for example, in Islam, horses are not allowed to be eaten, but in cases of starvation, they are permitted.
Yeah, but my point is that the magical thinking aspect of it is going to lead you to believe something for incorrect reasons sometimes. Whereas when you actually base it off the facts, you're going to be correct about the situation. So you're going to know, yeah, I can eat crawfish, I can eat pork, but it has to be cooked in a certain way, it has to be cleaned in a certain way. That would be a better way to navigate reality, no?
Perhaps, but perhaps on a individualist level, but on a collectivist level, it is more important to have implicit beliefs that are not to be questioned.
Implicit beliefs so just indoctrination.
An implicit belief. Okay, for example, let's say you're sitting on a sidewalk that is very cold, and your grandma tells you, "Get up from your ass and get up from the sidewalk. You will be sick." Your grandma cannot explain to you why you will get sick, but it's something that she learned from her parents, and so on and so forth, and it at least carries some sort of relevancy.
Actually, it seems like that's the wrong way to approach things. Having a bunch of rules that can't be questioned would lead to a bunch of false rules that don't help anything and that are wrong. Having a set of rules that can be questioned and you can update them with time, well, that's science, and that's a lot better. That's why we do science and we don't listen to these fairy tales anymore. Science is a better system of rules to follow because it can change and can be updated with new evidence and requires evidence.
It's like telling children don't go out in the woods because a monster will eat you, as opposed to the number one cause of death, which would from that situation, which would be exposure to the elements. If you could teach a child how to survive out in the woods, should they be lost, that seems to me like it would be a better way to go about building society, building family, etc. Just basing off of the actual facts that we know.
At the time that the Bible was written, a lot of these things were not known. So it was a guide, basically a guide to civilization.
Yeah, back then, but it's a crappy guide for today. We've overruled it. We have a better one now. It's kind of useless.
For a lot of people, I think that religion is still important because a lot of people cannot have a type of objective worldview in the sense that they have to at least follow something and believe it to be true. For example, a lot of people will be atheists because of rebelliousness. They will be like, for every type of atheist that you are, there is some teenage girl that is out there being atheist because her parents said smoking is bad because God said so.
Well, there are even more teenage girls who are out there who are Christian just because their parents told them that it was true. So that's just as bad a reason. So instead, we should believe things based off of evidence. That's a much better ideology, and that's why the best societies in the world are mostly atheists, mostly very scientifically oriented.
You can have both.
Yeah, not really. Like, well, if we just look at the best societies in the world, the less religious, the better the society. Japan has almost no religious. Finland, Norway, Denmark, Germany, Sweden, no religious. And so the least religious you are, the better your society is, typically.
But looking at it historically, you can see like the United States at the beginning of the 20th century was the most powerful nation in the world, but it still had significant religious influence inside of the society, more than it does today.
Yeah, it had more religious. The religiosity in the U.S. is going down consistently, and the U.S. is worse in most respects than all those other secular nations I mentioned. The level of power is just based on how much military you have. We don't care about that. We want to know what's the better society. Education, Finland wins. America's 30th. Prison, America has more people in prison than any other than like every other 6 countries combined, which is garbage for no reason. America has one of the least functional senates in the world. It has one of the worst healthcare systems of all developed nations. America has some of the worst tax systems in most developed nations. It has some of the worst rules that enforce like labor, worst minimum wage laws. Like America is about 30th on all of the effective policies because of the religious people, because of the Republican religious people who want to remain conservative. So the religion is what's holding America back from being number one in all of those stats, which are dominated by secular nations that make decisions based off science instead of religion.
Well, this would, by your logic, this would mean that people who are inside of the prison system are there because of their religiosity, or?
Well, the prison system is broken because of people who are religious writing rules about it. I mean, most people in prison are Christian. There's only like 0 point something percent of prisoners are atheists. But the problem with the prison system is the fact that it's designed to put people in prison by conservative, Republican, Christian, authoritative values. So because America is still very Christian and authoritative, those values translate into laws that influence the prison system, which cause a disproportionate amount of people to be in prison because of religious values.
or would you say that the monetary incentive to keep people in prisons is much stronger than the religious aspect of it?
No, because the monetary incentive is there in all of the countries. You can make money from putting people in prison as much as you want in any country. They don't do it. And the reason they don't do it is because they don't have an authoritative ideology encouraging them to put people in prison.
Sometimes things like sometimes punishments that are very severe can actually have a positive impact on the society.
Sure, they can,
However,
but prison doesn't. We know prison doesn't. We know the
yes,
prison
we know.
rules implemented by America are absolutely backward and heinous and don't do anything, and they actually cause greater crime rates, higher risk. Like I forget what it is, recidivism. The amount that prisoners go back into prison, back into crime, is higher in the U.S. because of the garbage American laws, like solitary confinement. Absolutely terrible for psychological punishment, but it's used because Christian Republican values, where it's not used in more developed nations. We know that the Swedish and Finnish systems, where even mass murderers only get like 27 years or something, and they're put into a place that has knives and a house on an island. They can literally just walk off and leave. Those areas have a significantly higher rate of causing people to become better and more functional in society than the American system. So the American system is garbage. And these all authoritative rules don't help. We know they do not help, but we still do them because of Christian values that are in the Bible from 2,000 years ago, which don't apply to today.
You also have to take into account that one of the more, I would say, in my opinion, important aspect of a functioning society is a stable birth rate. So if your birth rate is below replacement level, that is definitely not something that is conducive to a healthy society.
No, societies can work just fine with a lower birth rate. Whether or not there's a high birth rate doesn't matter to the success of a society. Like as long as you have technology that can replace the work that the number of people were doing, then you can have a functioning society without a high birth rate.
The problem with this is that this is a hypothetical. So
no, it's an actual
at the current
AI stuff. Like most of the work that can be done by humans can be replaced by GPT-4 like right now. So we have technology that can do this right now.
A lot of the service sector jobs currently at this
can all be replaced by AI.
Replaced.
Every single one of them. Very easy. Like they're actually, I think somebody already did that. Was it a McDonald's or something that's all automated right now in Texas, I think?
And there are robots who are flipping the hamburgers.
Yep, 100%. I think it is. Fully robotic restaurant. Google fully robotic restaurant. There's a bunch of them. In China, there's a bunch of them. In Japan, there's a bunch of them. San Francisco restaurant is run entirely by robots. So San Francisco. Entirely robotic run Mesli launches its first fully autonomous thing. So this is happening everywhere right now.
Well, even looking at it from the
aspect it's
of
McDonald's. I found it.
automation.
McDonald's. Yeah, there's a McDonald's that is fully automated in Dallas, Texas.
I did not know this, but like, would you how are you with like looking at life? Are you upset with a low birth rate personally?
No, I don't care.
Well, what do you care about in the context of this conversation?
Morality, whether people are moral.
People are moral if you keep them at some limit of power. So if you keep them at a steady level, you maintain a hierarchy, they will be calm. But if you give even a normal person too much,
like there are tons
power,
of people with power in secular nations all over the world, and they're moral people. Like there are people with nuclear weapons in secular nations that are perfectly moral. Like morality has nothing to do with limiting power. It has to do with having an ideology that's based in reason and morality that tells you not to kill people. That's a good one.
Well, the Bible does not tell you to kill people. It says in the
It
Ten
tells you to kill
Commandments.
people all the time in the Bible. What are you talking about?
In normal society, you have the groundwork that is the Ten Commandments, and they are supposed to be followed. Special exceptions are made to outside groups.
So it tells you to kill people all the time in the Bible. That's the point.
In the context of war, yes.
Well, in all kinds of
But
contexts.
wartime and peacetime are not the same.
Oh, like in peacetime, Jephthah was told to kill his daughter when he came home because he won a war. So not a wartime, and he was told to kill people. Abraham was told to kill his son, not wartime. There was a prostitute that was killed and their body parts were cut apart and shipped to every corner of the world because some guys were trying to rape an angel or something. People are killed all the time in the Bible for non-war based reasons. So boys, like I think it was 40 adults, 40 young boys were killed, mauled by 2 bears because God told them to, because they made fun of a bald guy. There was a guy who was picking up sticks who was stoned to death. People are killed in the Bible for all kinds of reasons that have nothing to do with war. God drowned the world, not war.
Well, would you be open to the suggestion that the reason why Christianity was successful is because of it has to do with reproductive success?
Sort of. Has to do with a lot of factors, but I don't care why it was successful. It's not true. We have better models now. So there's literally no value in Christianity today that can't be replaced by new ideologies.
Is there a secular type of ideology that can increase the birth rate?
Who cares? No one cares
more
about
than,
birth rate.
than
Birth rate does not matter. Birth rate is irrelevant. Technology is what matters.
well, I care about birth rate, so
That's dumb.
that is the context I used.
So like what matters is life expectancy and technology. Those two things were going to dominate birth rate by a significant margin. So like when we have technology that can increase our lives to like 1 million years, we aren't going to care about birth rate.
One thing an important thing is I base my ideology on the context that the economy that is traditionally capitalist is not changing. So in order to create the system where you have technology replacing traditional, you have to basically replace the whole society as we know it to accommodate for.
So
to accommodate
economically,
things
which
like
countries have the
biological
best economies? The ones with the highest birth rates or the ones with the lowest birth rates?
Every economy every country at some point had high birth rates. It's a cycle
Which
that
economies right now in the world are the most successful? High birth rates, low birth rates?
well, you have also exceptions like Israel that has a birth rate of 3.5 yet is economically successful.
Okay,
and
so
inside
the
of
majority,
Israel,
what is the majority? Do majority of the most successful economic countries in the world have high birth rates or low birth rates?
economic success not only needs to be looked at.
You're not answering the question. Do most countries that are the most economically successful have high birth rates or low birth rates?
There is more nuance to this question, but if you want me to answer it directly, I would have to say yes. But you also have to take into consideration what the West was like in the past, at the time of the baby boomers, when baby boomers were born. The economy back then was more successful than it is today.
You mean during World War II?
After World War II.
Right. So after there's a massive war, there's an economic recession, and then after the recession, there's massive growth. So if we had another world war and then a big recession, and then we would have lots of growth after that. But the rate of growth was the same proportionally. If we average out the massive depression, the the major depressions from World War I and World War II, and then the rate of growth would be about the same. So it's not actually that much different.
Could you explain to me why in 1960 the average person could buy a house with 2 years' wages and a new car with 3 months of wages, but right now it takes a year and about 10 to 15 years to buy a house?
Because of inflation and low
Okay,
wage
what?
rates that haven't been raising because companies are greedy. Has nothing to do with birth rates.
I think it does have to do with birth rates
House,
because
housing has become a commodity completely. There's a reason why houses are like left vacant versus using it to house a family. It's a pure commodity at this point.
it's seen as a investment rather than something that is massively produced and
For sure.
supposed to be used.
Right, which has nothing to do with
Yeah.
birth rates. The reason
I think it
houses.
does have to do.
Why do
I
you?
think it does
How
have
do
to
you
do
think
with birth.
the level of birth rate is going to change corporate structure to buying and selling houses? How would higher
you
birth
have-
rate make companies want to make more houses cheaper?
A higher birth rate means that the houses being built are more densely packed, so that incentivizes lower prices for housing.
No, it doesn't. There are
Houses
houses
have-
that are packed in like the southern states, like Texas, where there's lots of immigrants. They're not building more houses. They're building more expensive houses that are not packed. Packed houses doesn't encourage more people to build more houses. That's not how it works. Money is what encourages people to build more houses.
But you need people to work in order to make money and therefore have an
No,
increase
remember,
in house
remember, we have automated things that can do all that now. And again, all of those people, the immigrants, are working and making money, and they're not building more cheap housing. It's not doesn't happen. San Francisco, lots of working, lots of people homeless, no housing. People building housing has nothing to do with the birth rates. It has to do with the profit rates. Birth rates is irrelevant to the cost of housing. Like India has massively high birth rates, and their housing is extremely expensive because all of those people who are born into poverty just live in the shacks. People aren't building houses for them. It doesn't happen. High birth rates does not mean people build more houses.
India does not have a high birth rate. India has a birth rate of about 1.9 to 1.8, which is actually below replacement level. The reason why India's population is growing is because it has an increase in life expectancy.
Indian birth rate is 2.
That is still below replacement. Replacement is 2.1. So it's not by any means a high birth rate. It's a normal birth rate.
That's a high enough birth rate. So high birth rate does not equal more housing. Like pick a country with the highest birth rate. Do you think they're building more housing? Is their spending on housing higher? No. Zero of them. Zero of the countries with high birth rates have higher housing unit building than America. It doesn't happen. High birth rate does not mean companies build more houses. Literally irrelevant. Like you can just take every country, take their birth rate, and take their amount of housing being built, and see if they correlate, and they will not.
Perhaps. I don't actually. Okay, but you need to take into consideration that the way the economy is structured today is way too centered on the service sector. Industry is being outsourced. So a lot of the.
I don't even know what that means, but I have to go to the bathroom. I'll be back in a minute.
Okay, man. What about
Hey,
the rest
David.
of you?
David.
What about the rest of you?
He's
What's your
muted, never
position?
mind. Yeah, I don't see how birth rates connect to anything. Like, what's the
Higher
point?
people who are more religious have a higher birth rate.
So, we have 8 billion people on the planet.
Maybe you should stop.
We need to keep the system of capitalism is dependent upon infinite growth. So there needs to be constant growth and constant innovation.
That's completely wrong. If you have nothing but growth and no sustainability, even capitalism collapses.
We have yet to reach the point of unsustainability in the
Irrelevant.
United
You're either
States.
talking about the theory or the practicality. Now pick one. If you're talking about the theory, then even capitalism will collapse without sustainability. You have to have the ability for growth and sustainability, or else it's just a quick get rich quick scheme that's going to eventually crumble everything around it.
If we assume that capitalism has a get rich quick scheme, is it not better to keep it going?
No, because it will collapse. You have to have sustainability, or else you just are going to make some money now and everything goes crashing to the ground later. Everything. Everyone loses.
The United States has enough arable land to feed 1.5 billion people. At the current rate, a slightly high birth rate.
Are we talking agriculture or are we talking capitalism? Make up your mind.
Both, I mean,
no, you're not. Pick one.
Agriculture is encompassed inside of capitalism.
No, it's not. Capitalism is about generation of wealth. Agriculture is about generation of food. Whether or not you think those two are related is on you. You haven't made the connection.
Do you care if it reaches that collapsing state? It sounds like you don't care. Oh, he's gone.
Yeah, that's what happens when you actually push back. Folklore. Let's talk about folklore. He thinks that there's being wisdom in folklore. Red sky at night, red sky in morning. Everybody knows this folklore. People observed these connections. They had no idea why it was there, you know, and there's a scientific reason why it's there. But they were able to just, through trial and error, observe that there were certain connections. And that's pretty simple to explain why some people would put some things down in a book, right? And what was his other comment about prisons? I mean, literally, the prisons is based off of the penitent system. That's where you even get the word penitentiary from. The idea that you're taking these criminals who have morally, like, sinfully acted and giving them someplace to stop and think about their actions. That's the entire idea of the penitentiary system, which is why pushbacks against rehabilitation and restorative justice get pushed back the hardest by religious fronts.
Walker, I need to ask you something. Do you think the world is like controlled, like a controlled like thing? What do you think?
I'm sorry that you think that's a cogent question. Perhaps you could try again. The world? What the hell do you think the world is?
Yeah, but of course. But what do you think? In which way? Do you think?
I'm sorry that you think that's a cogent question. Try again.
We should try again. Okay.
Hey, David, can I ask you a quick question about something you said earlier, or do you really want to?
I mean, we can go back to it, but, you know, I mean,
government thing.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, you said earlier about one of the things that led you to your belief was precognitive dreams, dreaming things before they occur. Let's just say that was true. Let's just say we scientifically discovered tomorrow, for whatever reason, it's occurring, and it's a fact. How does that get you to your belief that Jesus Christ rose from the grave after 3 days?
How did I get to my belief? Well, of course, in the Bible, it would say something like it talks about all of these stuff, right? About prophecies and all of these stuff. And man, I mean,
so even though we've addressed the fact that those aren't actually prophecies, and you know, you still think that you're going to bring them up in an argument and have them be meaningful to anyone else. Why?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, if it helps one person, then okay. But
okay. So if it helps one person, that's good enough. So if I was to say humanism, which says that we must regard each other all as one family, will help even one person, I now have an argument to say that we must focus on humanism.
Well, I'm not like I said before. I mean,
how about you just keep going with what you're saying and not change the topic? You said if there's one thing that's true, that's all that matters.
No, if it helps one person, you know, get to
You've
God.
already said that. Now explain it.
Nah, yeah, I'm gonna explain it, bro. Like,
Okay, then stop repeating yourself and just explain it.
yeah, because you keep talking over me, man.
I'm going to talk over every time you repeat yourself because that's not helpful.
I mean, you're not helping, not really.
I'm focusing the conversation, so by definition, I'm helping.
Anyways, what I wanted to say was, you know, because you know, if because of God's word and stuff, and you know, I mean, if it can help someone get to heaven and stuff, you know, man, like
Which God's word? Muslims, Jewish, Christian? Which God's
from the
words are
Bible,
we crap shooting
from the
here?
Bible. From the Bible.
Yeah, that doesn't narrow it down as much as you think it does.
What are you talking about, though? Narrow it down.
Is there anything that you can point to that is uniquely true of the Bible?
Man, I talked about this before, man.
Then it should be really simple. State one thing that is uniquely true to the Bible.
Now, before you guys go
Yeah,
on,
Jesus Christ died on the cross.
Rano, did you have something you wanted to talk about?
And Jesus Christ dying on
One
the
second.
cross. for us.
David. Let's give somebody else a
Yeah.
turn for a little bit. Rano, what did you have? I can't hear you talking. Can anybody else hear him talking?
No, I can't hear him.
All right, Rano, leave and rejoin, refresh the page, see if that works.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about people, you know, don't believe in like in the Bible prophecies, but they believe in like in worldly prophecies. For example, I don't know if you know about the Illuminati card game that was released, you know, and also I don't know if you definitely know Simpsons. How
What
they
part
predict
about
stuff
this
and
is
how
you
those things
picking
come true.
something uniquely true about the Bible?
No, I'm not saying I'm not. I'm just
So
saying
you're just
people
not
don't
going to
believe.
answer the question? You're just going to hide? What?
No, people don't believe in the Bible, but people believe in worldly prophecies. Like,
You're
for
still
example,
not specifying what is uniquely true about Scripture. Is this too complex of a question?
yeah, but that's not what I'm talking about now. I'm talking about, you know,
You
people believe in worldly
specifically were talking about how God's word was somehow important. And so now I'm asking you to give an example of anything uniquely good about the Bible, or else take back the comment that God's word is of any value at all.
It helps you get to heaven, man.
Cool story, bro. Now, could you point to something that's not just a story?
Well, if you believe in as the Bible as a story, then yeah, I mean
Everything
that's
starts as a story. Everything starts as an imagining.
yeah, but
That's our
I
default
said
position,
that.
and you've got to take it to the
But
next step.
Walker, do you believe science is a story, like them finding evidence?
Science is a methodology. It's like walking. It's a process to get from one point to the
Rano,
next.
Rano's back. Rano,
Yeah,
test
but you
your
said
mic.
everything is a
Yeah,
story.
I think I'm
Yourself.
audible now.
David,
Come
stop.
on.
David, stop. Rano, what did you have for us? Do you have a question, comment?
I'm audible now, right? It
Yes.
works.
Yes, we can hear you.
Nice, thank you. So just wanted to add something earlier about the prison system in America. I think it was mentioned that I think the example was Finland, where they have literally like murderers learning how to socialize and do jobs and learn things again, like rehabilitation. In this country, they have the old prison still as a museum. And if you look in those prisons, there's a documentary about them, it looks like the prisons of America today.
For sure.
So they're literally so forward that the prisons that are now in America are their museums.
Yep. Very true.
Rehabilitative justice is superior by every metric.
I wholly agree. Yeah. And another thing about the trans thing, we could assume that there are not more than two genders, even if someone is trans. Like, I don't agree, though. I think there are more. But just for the sake of the argument, if the Christian says, "Oh, there are only two genders," the Bible says so, then you can say, "Yes, there are only two genders. I'm going from one to the other. I'm not adding one." Yeah.
English dandies in the 17th century wore powdered wigs, leather tights, frills, lace, and these were considered the height of masculinity in British society. And yet you'd get arrested if you walked around town that way nowadays. What people consider, what society considers to be proper male and female behavior is ultimately irrelevant, because
yes,
if you're interested at all in personal autonomy, then just because society says this is what a man does or this is what a woman does, so what? Who are you to say?
so and the thing is, I googled and tried to find.
You're completely avoiding nature then. Like how nature, because you guys, if you guys don't believe in God, okay, but like if you disregard evolution and nature in itself and think your own ways and put your own ideas, then you're just completely,
Wait, what?
So what about nature said that English dandies was the correct masculine form in the 1700s?
Well, wait a minute. There
Yeah.
are asexual.
Wait. Nature is nature conscious?
One sec, David. There are species of nature that are literally all women, and they reproduce on their own. There are asexual species that are neither male nor female that reproduce. There are species that have multiple kinds of men and multiple kinds of women.
Natural hermaphrodites.
Yeah, there are species that literally transition from male to female all the time. Like,
Yo, I mean, okay. Are you guys? Wait. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this. I don't even know if I'm allowed to talk about this on the show.
You could just acknowledge what Tom said was correct, and easily looking up those facts, you'd know that nature allows for these things.
Wait. But so basically said before he said, okay, if who's to tell us that these things are wrong or right? That's what he said before, right?
No.
But that's contradictory what you said before.
What?
You said how can society tell us, what these things are, right?
No.
Nature.
Why, if society tries to say that this is the way things is, does anyone have to care? That's the point that was made. Just because someone says that I should be wearing a powdered wig, does it mean that they're right? Does it?
Okay.
So there.
That's a fair argument.
There you go.
Fair enough argument.
We're not saying that biology doesn't have an influence on how we behave as male or females. We're just saying that social influence is a big, maybe even a bigger impact as well. And you cannot disregard one for the other. You have to consider both. So just back to the species, the funny example. I think slugs, they have literally a penis fight of who keeps the penis and who becomes female. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, and don't they impale each other with them, and that's who wins? Whoever penetrates the first one wins.
Yes.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah, nature says a lot of things about gender if you want to look it up.
Interesting. Well, so you let's say in the future, right now they're doing like the LGBTQ thing, right? But like let's say in the future, right, they then like do like pedophilia pride, for example. And we already seen this today, So what if to do that? Why you guys
paraphernalia?
Well, there's
pedophilia pride.
Because that involves violating the consent of a minor. It's literally immoral. LGBT isn't.
Yeah, but what do you guys think about
1 second. One is about consent, and the other one is not about consent.
Yeah, one's about gender,
children.
One's about...
Yeah, one second. One is about children who cannot consent, and one is about adults who can consent. That's the difference.
That's typically why you don't want to bring up that subject very often in these sort of debates, especially with educated people.
What are you talking about, bro? I just said
I'm not sure what I'm talking about, but I'm trying to talk to you right now, so it's a bit hard.
No, I'm just saying, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this on the show, like about pedophilia and stuff.
It's immoral.
You're not sure
that's immoral.
Wrong?
Pedophilia is immoral. LGBT is not immoral. That's the difference.
Did you just say you're not sure if pedophilia is wrong?
No, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to bring up these topics on the stream, you know?
You just brought it up and we shut it down. Where's the problem?
Well, some YouTubers have some rules.
Got to get a
so
little
it's
more
fair.
aggression to your talk there. Steve.
It's fair enough. One second. It's fair.
I don't know if you know about censorship, right?
It's fair enough for him
You
to
brought it
ask.
up. We talked about it. Where's the censorship?
No, before I brought it up, before I brought it up, right? Of course, I'm talking about that.
Yeah, you brought it up. We talked about
All
it.
right,
Is there
Shrub,
some
Shrub, what
second
do you got?
conversation going on in your brain?
Shrub, what do you got?
What have I got?
Yeah.
I'm still pursuing my purpose-driven life.
Why?
And I'm working on incorporating non-theistic purpose in my life.
Okay. My take on that is I started an atheist church called the Church of the Best Possible Worlds. We're trying to provide affordable housing. So if you're in the atheist purpose thingy, mine has a morality that says we should do as much as we can to limit the involuntary impositions on people. And the best way to do that is to provide affordable housing. So we're saving up for an apartment building to provide housing for people at a lower cost. And that's our atheist purpose.
That kind of sounds like what Dave Matthews did.
No,
Church of Maximal Freedom.
Have you ever heard of Dave Matthews, the musician?
Yes. Heard of him.
Yeah, I think he's originally from Virginia, and I think he gave $5 million for a large housing complex.
Cool.
To help provide affordable housing.
Cool.
And I believe he's also an agnostic.
Awesome. There are lots of
Not that that
agnostics and atheists. Who
Well,
do
we
that
can
kind of
fix
stuff.
that and get him over onto the right dichotomy.
Yeah, so I'm still trying to find science-based purpose.
There isn't any
Evidence.
Science is a
hypothesis.
methodology. Why would it have a purpose?
No,
It is.
I know.
That's not what
It's
that's not what I'm
tough.
saying. So science hasn't
It's tough.
demonstrated that purposeness exists yet. It's just a hypothesis, but that's fine. You can say that any religious-based purpose will have equally as much foundation as any non-religious based purpose because there's equally as little evidence for both.
So none of us have any purpose.
No, we can have purpose.
No innate
There's just
purpose.
no.
Why
there's
would
no-
You know what I find crazy? Like people acknowledge that we humans are not perfect, right? And science is made by us, right?
Wait.
So
So just
would
to
that
clarify,
project also
just to
not be
clarify,
perfect?
we can have purpose. It can be there even if there's no evidence for it. So we can hypothesize there is evidence, and there can be purpose there even if we don't have any evidence yet. You don't need evidence for things to exist. So we can have purpose even
Well,
without
that's tough
evidence.
because if we allow things to exist that we don't have evidence for, then we're allowing God to creep in.
What's possible for God to exist, what's possible for any of those to exist, it's fine. There's no problem with there.
This is my quandary. It continues.
What's the quandary? Like you can have a hypothesis of whatever kind you want.
I'm still trying to come up with a clean, evidence-based purpose.
Okay,
Instead
so
of a
you're
dirty
not going to
evidence-based
have that on
purpose.
God, and you're not going to have that on not God, but you can still have a non-evidence based for both equally. So any God or non-God.
But this
We are
right,
both
that's science,
required
right?
by dint of philosophy to build
Wait. I
from
kind
the ground
of
up.
want to have a conversation with Shrub right now for a bit. Shrub. So any God-based purpose is equally as justified as a non-God based purpose.
Okay. But I'm trying to work on developing a non-God based purpose.
Well, like, why do you think? Like, I already told you one. So, what is the problem with, say, mine? Why is
Well,
mine not as good?
simply saying something is either on the left side of the fence or the right side of the fence doesn't give a reason for being on a side of a fence.
Right. And so I'm asking, why do you think one side is worse or better than the other?
No, I'm trying to come up with, can I find evidence for a purpose without God?
Okay. So can you find evidence for a purpose with God?
Yes.
Okay. And anything you qualify as evidence will work better for the non-God.
Okay.
So what do you think is evidence for purpose under God?
Well, raised 3 children to adulthood, and I've tried to be a good standard for them. You know, I've tried to be objectively moral and considerate and just.
Okay. Well, you can
And
do all of that without God.
I've tried to
All
follow the law and
all that is without
and
God.
help teach them things like being humble and caring for others, and
Okay, but we can do all of that
being
without
respectful
God.
to your
But
parents.
literally everything you just said works for a non-God and a God view. So I don't see why you think that works. Because I asked you for why do you think you have purpose under God, and then you listed a bunch of things that work equally as well for God and no God.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm just saying I didn't come up with these. They were taught me.
Well, I don't care who came up with them. That doesn't matter.
Yo, you guys there?
And one of the reasons why
Yeah.
I'm working on this is my oldest son is an atheist.
Yo, are you guys
One
atheists,
sec,
right?
Defender. One sec, Defender. It's Shrub's turn for a little bit. Go ahead, Shrub.
No, it's fine.
You said
Yeah. So my son who's 23, he's an atheist, and he's perfectly good from a budgetary standpoint. He's perfectly good from a legal standpoint, and he's kind of tending towards being a hermit right now.
okay.
Do you think that has to do with his atheism?
No. I mean, I want him, but see, the thing is, if you don't have a defined purpose, then why screw with any of it? It's there's no why. There's no driver.
Well, again, so you can have a purpose with a God or without a God, and you can have no purpose with a God or without a God. And so what is the relevance of that question to whether or not there's a God?
Oh, I'm not asking whether there's a God. I mean, I am trying to come up with either a proof or a thesis or a non-religious proverb, maxim, paradigm of purpose.
So there's tons
Why?
of them. They are made up all the time by lots of different worldviews, both with and without a God, and there is none that is more supported on the God side than the non-God side. So any principle you come up with on the God side, you can get it from a naturalistic worldview just fine.
I mean, because it things kind of can devolve into, well, that's just because you're saying so.
Which is the
I
exact
don't believe it.
same as the God worldview. So like I can say there is a moral law of physics and it determines morality. Just like you think there's a God that determines morality. So there's a thing out there that it grounds all reality that causes morality in nature.
Well, I mean, the other thing I'm thinking of is just stirring up a lot of greed. If I can instill an egregious amount of greed,
Which most religions
or
do.
flattery,
Which most religions
maybe I
do.
can get him on that.
Yeah. That's more religious organizations and beliefs do that than non-religious. Non-religious are clearly more moral.
Okay. Well, I mean, he's kind of like, he always throws up, the why. Why should I have to do this? Why should I care?
Which is the exact same for both, so that doesn't give us a differentiating factor.
Well, I'm not asking. This is not to be a comparative. I mean, and TJ, we forgive me for saying this, but we've been caught in this circle before. I am not trying to dispute whether religion would be better here. I am trying to work entirely on his side of the fence, which is a non-religious view.
Well, the problem is that,
help him.
Well, I think the problem is that you have presuppositions that you think a God-based worldview provides purpose. You believe that. But when you try to work on someone else's side of the view, what you don't realize is that they can have the exact opposite belief, that you can have purpose without a God. And so just like you believe you have purpose with a God, in order to work on their side of the fence, you have to acknowledge there can be purpose without a God.
I mean, he has materialism. He likes stuff. He likes money. He wants housing and vehicles and, being able to go on vacation.
Wait. That's slightly separate topic here. So the first thing is, in order to work on the other side of the fence, you have to realize that the grounding for purpose without God is equally justified as the grounding for purpose with God.
I'm not invalidating him. I'm not telling him he's wrong. I'm not telling him he's stupid or he's aberrant or anything else.
No, I'm talking about you.
But
I'm talking about you. You need to understand that the grounding for morality is the same, or grounding for purpose is the same with or without a God. And once you understand that, then you can say, okay, for any justification I think exists for purpose with a God, he also has that for purpose without a God. And then you'll start to be able to understand what you can have conversations with them about and how to talk about purpose to people who are non-religious.
So I can just simply not have any, not give any, citation, and simply throw something at him, and it's equally valid from a non-God view.
Wait, what? I didn't follow that at all.
So in other words, if I don't cite something and I say, you just have to do this, it has equal value from a non-God perspective.
No, I think what you're trying to say is like, so you cite God as the grounds of purpose. In a naturalistic worldview, you can cite nature as the grounds of purpose, or law of physics, Platonic object, a priori abstract, logical kind of law. Like there's lots of things that can ground purpose that are not God.
Well, maybe perhaps a better way of asking is there a way of describing human greatness in non-theistic terms?
Human greatness. I don't think of humans as great. I don't know what that means. Like, I think that they're morally significant. I think all conscious entities are morally significant, but I don't think like greatness is a thing that matters.
So it might also be, I'm getting a tingle, but I really don't know that he might have a depression. Maybe he needs to talk to a therapist. I don't know, though. I don't want to assume anything. Just feels like it.
Well, I mean, there's a certain inertia in life, which is you get hungry, you have to eat. You start smelling, you take a shower. If you can't open the door, you clean your apartment. It's like there's certain things that you end up getting forced into in your existence. But what about the things you can choose to do? What about the things that you can garner inspiration and motivation on? And see, this is the challenge is I want to help reach him in more ways than just simply having a job and acquiring money.
Well, for example, TJump shirts could be something that he might gather motivation from. Like if he wants to make also the best possible world and give housing to people, affordable one, it might be something that is of his interest. Doesn't that have value?
I'm sorry, with your accent, I didn't quite get to the front of your sentence. Could you say it one more time, please?
He said that
no problem.
Your son could find value in something like my atheist church, which provides affordable housing and tries to help humanity. And so that would
he can afford housing. He's making
no.
He's making
providing
about $68,000 a year right now
for other people.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like a Habitat for Humanity type of thing.
Yeah. So he could find purpose in those kinds of organizations.
I think he's going to enjoy video games more than cleaning out an apartment building or doing construction work.
Sure, but your purpose.
He's kind of a small fellow. He's only about 130 pounds.
Purpose isn't the thing that gives you the most enjoyment. That's not what purpose means.
Yeah, but see, the thing is his defense is I just don't want to.
Sure, and that's fine. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, my depression tingling gets more.
I mean, he's super motivated at work, and he's willing to put in a good day. Maybe even 10 hours a day. And then there's just not much of anything.
So what? Maybe that is his purpose.
High functioning depression is a thing.
Or maybe that just is his purpose and what he values. What's the problem with that?
Well, as a parent, you just always want the best for your children, I guess.
Well, maybe that is the best for him. Why are you trying to impose your values onto him? Maybe that is his best life.
Well, if it could be described by others as being indicative of depression, I don't know that you could also say that it's exemplary.
Literally you can. So you can literally define Buddhism as depression. You literally do nothing all day, sit around and meditate and don't do anything. That sounds like depression in many ways. So for many people, what may sound like depression may be their purpose and what they find the most joy and value in life. So it's subjective for each individual what gives them the most joy or what depression may look like. For many people, depression doesn't look like anything because they hide it and are very, very social. So it's not correct to say that because someone defines it as depression, that means it's not the happiest state for someone.
I don't know that my son would say he's depressed. I would simply say that, that he just, he just doesn't want to get to it yet.
Well, again, so why do you think he change? Why do you think he's not living the good life as it is for him right now?
I'm looking for a means of better communicating with my son. And so I guess if I'm being selfish here, I'm trying to gather some notes for our next conversation. I actually spoke to him earlier today. He's upset that his cat has got his two cats has a kidney disease.
Okay.
I mean, he's not terribly upset, but he's bummed out about it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's a very friendly cat.
He cares about it. That's what matters. If he cares about the cat, then
and I did tell him something positive, which was if the cat dies, he can always get another cat.
That's not something positive. That would literally be the opposite of that. That would be something that would make him feel worse and make him not want to speak to you.
I mean, he didn't mind. He didn't mind that in particular. He didn't hang up on me. It was just
that does not whether or not someone hangs up on you is not the measure of whether or not the sentence was positive or negative.
I mean, I didn't say something like, the cat's going to go to heaven and that you'll meet him again in the afterlife. I didn't go there. I'm just saying that would
also be negative. So to have effective conversation, what you usually do is you empathize with the position of the other person and say, "I'm sorry for your loss. That's really sad. Let me know if there's anything I can do to help." That would usually be a more productive thing to say other than you can get another cat. Like imagine if your wife is dying, say, "Oh, sorry, you can just get another one." Would that make you feel good?
Well, wives are harder to come by than cats.
Doesn't matter how hard they are to come by. Doesn't matter. Would that make you feel better? Your wife's dying, you could get a new one. Is that okay? Does that help improve your situation?
Well, I mean, his response was he has two cats and he's okay with having only one cat if one cat dies.
I don't care about his response. His response is probably a dismissal or a reflection to get off the topic because you annoyed him. What matters is would you feel better if someone said you can get another wife if your wife is dying of cancer?
Another thing, speaking here from experience, the father-son relationship is a little bit special, and you can talk back at your father in some ways where it's not like something that is already studied. And I would say like talking back at specific topics where you're already talking back, but bringing up something new is always very weird with your father or even mother, because you don't want like a family fight or something. You avoid it more than with other people because it has more severe consequences. You're more attached to the person. So be mindful. You have, like, as a father, you have some power over your son, and therefore responsibility. So, yeah.
Well, you said you were trying to find a more effective way to communicate, right? Shrub, so you said you wanted to find a more effective way to communicate, something like that?
Well, I mean, I'm just trying to conceptually wrap my head around atheistic purpose.
It's the exact same as theistic purpose.
Beyond running around and separating people of faith from their religion, what other purpose can there be?
It's the exact same as theism. Theism, you make up a god and you think this god has values and those values are my purpose. With atheism, you make up a law of physics and you say this physics has this nature to it and this nature is my purpose. It's the exact same. There's no difference. God is made up.
No difference.
No difference. Makes up properties. You make up properties of what you think it's like, and then you say this is the purpose.
All right. So if I can find something in particle physics, then I've got something to hit him with.
Sure, you can say, hey, I think of moral naturalism, which is a thing in what's philosophy. Moral naturalism says there are moral values, and these moral values should be purpose. And that's just as valid as theism. Yes, probably better.
Okay, I can deal with that. So moral
Naturalism.
valuism.
Moral
Moral naturalism.
Yes, it is a position.
Natural morality. Moral
No,
naturalism.
it's moral
Okay.
naturalism. Natural morality is something
Moral
different. Moral naturalism. Google it.
Okay.
Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. It is a thing. Moral naturalism.
So another thing that helps me quite a lot and gives me purpose is meditation in itself. Like I noticed change in my day-to-day life.
Medication? What kind of
Not
medication?
medication. No, not medication. Meditation. Meditation. Meditation.
Medication?
No,
no, not with a C.
Oh, you're meditating. You're
Buddhist monk.
meditating.
Yes.
You're meditating. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Can you say squirrel?
I won't. So what I'm
I
trying to
run
say
into
is
Germans and they can't say squirrel. They say squirrel instead of squirrel.
I can say squirrel. It's fine.
The QU is just it's not a German thing.
Fuck it. Listen. What I'm talking about is, for example, mindfulness. There is like evidence, scientific evidence for it, that it changes the brain permanently. If you do mindfulness for like a month, your brain changes. Things like depression get more difficult for the brain to sustain. Depression is basically like a default program running in a loop always. Like the chemicals turn around and it's always in the loop. And if you meditate a lot, this default loop is easier to escape. So meditation, especially mindfulness meditation, meaning that you detach yourself from the thoughts, not meaning that you don't think anything, you just don't engage with thoughts, can help a lot. Like if you have a very spiraling mind, training to detach yourself from being in a spiral helps amazingly.
Well, he is mildly autistic. He's on the autism spectrum. I mean,
So am I.
Yes.
He's often unemotive.
I am also on the
doesn't
autism
have anything
spectrum.
to do with emotions or social skills.
Well, it kind of does. It makes it, being on the autism spectrum makes expression and feeling of emotions more difficult, and it's harder to be socially, typically.
No, that's not what I meant. My meditation, like mindfulness.
Oh yeah.
Someone with autism can do it as well. Like detaching your thoughts isn't something unique to people who have more attachment to emotions.
So TJump, I'm about to put in an order at my favorite cafe. Please give another person a chance. I have to go on silent for a second.
Sure, no problem. American Defender, what do you got?
Looks like he's muted.
I think he self-muted himself. I didn't mute him, so it's just like not there. Got bring these guys back up.
Oi.
Oi is correct.
I have a thing that I think we may have talked about in the past a little bit, but I wanted to get your thought on it again because I don't remember your reply.
Sure.
When I was first studying about the laws of logic and everything, I found the same sources you did with regards to them being languages. But I also found reference to them being referred to classically as the laws of thought. And I wanted to go down the path of what I understood them to mean when they called them the laws of thought. And it was the idea that at the base level, our lowest thought, like as of Descartes, was that we are a thinking thing. And there's a singularity to that that statement, that there's thingness, there's a individuality to that. And then there's also a delineation between that thinking thing and everything that is not that thinking thing. Literally, A and not A is a description of how we think. First of ourselves, which everyone is required to.
Well, I think it means something different than that.
Not ourselves.
Like the laws of thought are more like what our consciousnesses are doing when it labels stuff. That's what it means by the laws of thought. It's more like how your consciousness labels stuff. And so,
yeah, which seems to be like our default setting is to label things, starting with ourselves and then everything else.
sure, but I think when people are talking about the laws of thought, they're saying this is the way by which your brain does the labeling, whether or not it's designed to. So
And that was what they said.
Right.
They said A equals A and everything. Like there's no third option. If you're defining something with a label, you're including as much information as you can. It's not exhaustive, but what you're trying to do is delineate it from everything else. So literally, that's why I didn't call them the laws of logic for the longest time. I just called them the laws of thought because I thought that was a more robust way of explaining what was going on. And so when I had people come along and try to say that laws of logic were hand-me-downs from universals, it made absolutely no sense because from the ground up, they made perfect sense.
Sure, I think it's perfectly fine to call them the laws of thought, and that you can use that title as a way to more express the fact that it's the way we think about things rather than some kind of amorphous thing in the universe. Sure.
I've been calling it our innate language, but I'm not sure if that's got some tricky language to it or not. Anyway, it was of only any value to precepts, so let it go.
Yeah, John, what do you think? What do you think though? I heard that I heard that robots, right? I mean, we're gonna basically become robots and we're gonna become immortal like that somehow. And there's people that are like reversing the age to become like kind of immortal. What do you think about that? What's your opinion?
Yes, we are definitely progressing to technologically integrate new features into our bodies that are not biological, which can then increase our age and intelligence. And we are definitely moving towards that, and that's a good thing.
Do you think like what's it called? Do you know like a specific time, like we could achieve this or
Well, it's technology.
like
With technological growth,
Yeah.
there's no like specific time. The discoveries just have to be in the place. Like, I think it's going to happen when GPT, like maybe 7, 10 probably, comes out with high level abilities to problem solve. But like, so it's going to take an AI that's powerful enough to be able to integrate these things, and then design the pieces that we can then implement. And so it's going to be a while, like maybe 50 years probably, we'll have the ability to integrate AI in ourselves.
Dang, that's crazy, man. Just like that's crazy. Like just being an AI, bro. Like, no, me personally, I would like never like try to like put any like chip or like anything in my body,
Yeah, but you would put earbuds in your ears, right? And a microphone in front of your mouth.
Wait, what about
and
like
a screen in front of your eyes?
What about a synthetic hip or a new knee? Like if your knee replacement, would you have a knee replacement with a titanium knee?
I mean, the reason why I wouldn't like especially I heard like Amazon created like these chips where you can put in your hand, like in your hand or like somewhere like in your inside like your body near your hand, right? And you could pay for like something, right? You have your credit and everything.
Well,
and it's like
if you take your credit card, those little chip readers on your credit card. Do you have one of those?
Of course.
So if you take that and you insert it into your skin, it will still work. It's the same.
Yeah,
thing.
I mean, me personally, why I would not never do that is just because, of course, the Bible talks about the mark of the beast and stuff, and it could also be the mark of the beast.
So you just don't put it into your hand or your forehead. And would you have a knee replacement? Would you, like, if your knee was damaged, would you replace it with a titanium knee to be able to walk?
What if you had everything have an iris reader connected to it, like your computer, your bank account, banking machines, payment at restaurants? You had to use an iris reader because your iris is unique.
Of course, yeah. I mean, now no one. I mean, of course, it could be beneficial for most people. Okay, yeah. Now no one can steal.
So what's the difference about a chip that's unique? Where's the differentiation?
I mean, but at the same time, I mean, I feel like people really do want the privacy and stuff, right? Or not? Like people value the privacy, right? So I mean,
Does that have to do with it?
now the chip that can track you, you know. And I mean, in China especially, I heard like there's like a lot of.
Do you have a cell phone?
Yes, of course.
Are you aware that the triangulation that occurs with your cell phone happens every 10 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, but okay, it's not. If at some point I can like, I might leave my cell phone, right? I mean, I know most people don't do it, but like, let's say I don't wanna go outside with a cell phone. Like, I'm not trackable.
Except you're inside somewhere and everyone knows it.
Where?
You said you didn't want to go outside, so you're inside somewhere.
No, let's say I would go outside without my cell phone. Then they can't track me.
So what we got a new guy, LSF. What do you got for us?
Hey, dude.
Hey.
Earlier on, you were talking moral stuff. You mentioned consent.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, where do you stand on if a person wants to die?
Perfectly moral. So if someone is like, if they're of a healthy mind, they're a full adults level of consent, and they voluntarily want to die, then it is moral to help them to die. So assisted suicide is moral. Dave Warnock, a big guy in the atheist community, suffering from, was it Lou Gehrig's or ALS or something? And he's going to do assisted suicide when it gets really bad, and that's perfectly moral to help him to do that.
It seems to be a function of having bodily autonomy is that you get to say when your life ends.
Yeah, does that only...
That means you basically acknowledge yourself as your own God, basically.
No, literally.
As long as you're wanting to equivocate.
Wait. Let's let LSF for a while. Go ahead, LSF. Go for it.
Thanks, TJump. So does that only apply if a person is terminally ill?
No, like I would say that if anybody wants to die for any number of reasons, like it could be like if you're severely depressed and you can't get out of it and there's no cure, then yeah. Or if like you're a scientist and you just want to know what happens after death and you've perfectly rationally assessed this and you're of healthy mind, then yeah, you should be able to kill yourself.
And you would class that as to be morally acceptable?
Yeah. I think that each individual has autonomy over themselves, and they have the right to decide when and if they want their life to end. And I actually think age killing you is immoral. I think that you shouldn't die unless you consent to die. It should be the only way it's moral to die is if you voluntarily consent to doing so.
Well, unless you were it was your time and you were going to die anyway.
No,
right?
that's immoral. That's immoral.
No, but I'm just saying, like, if you were 96 years of age and your heart finally gives out,
Yeah,
then
that's
there's
immoral.
really not much choice.
Well, I agree there's no choice, and that's immoral. I think it's wrong. I think a world that does or allows that is an immoral world, and that the only way that it's ever moral to die is if you consent to dying.
Interesting. I am back, by the way, and I'm going to be waiting an interminable amount of time. I swear this Cafe Lorraine chooses to torture people with literally French-inspired slow service.
So, TJ, would that apply to any position where somebody consents to something happening to them, that another human can then do that to them on the basis they consent?
Yes.
What, inflict pain or torture?
Yeah. You can't do anything to any other person without their consent, whether it's good or bad. Doesn't make a difference what it is. So like throwing somebody a surprise birthday party, if they don't want surprise birthday parties, is immoral.
Well, there's some challenges with that, because if someone is drowning and they've gone unconscious and their body's floating in the water, you could save them without their consent.
Well, so consent in this way is defined such that, imagine you have your own world and you can put every single action on a list of allowed versus not allowed. If someone's unconscious, are you allowed to save them? Most people would say yes. I want to be saved if I'm unconscious and drowning, and so that would be moral. Now, maybe somebody was crazy and said, no, if I'm unconscious and drowning, do not save me. I do not want you to save me, in which case it would be immoral to save that individual. But for the vast majority of people, we're going to assume they want to be saved, and so it's moral to save them.
Yeah, I mean, unless their DNR is like stapled to their forehead,
yeah,
or is in an easy water resistant folder attached to their wrist.
Right.
At which point you'd say, sorry, you're a goner. You have a DNR. You don't want to be saved.
Yeah. So like if they specifically express they do not want to be saved, and which is essentially them trying to kill themselves or whatever, and you save them without their consent, then yeah, I'd consider that immoral.
Because someone could be trying to kill themselves, like jumping from a bridge, smack hit the water, knocks them out, then they're drowning, then someone jumps in to save them.
Right. Well, I'd say that you shouldn't kill yourself in a public place on other people's property. Probably not a good thing.
Well, you could just save the effort and just let them drown.
Like if they have specifically written that they do not want to be saved, then yes, you shouldn't save them.
All right.
Tattoo, do not resuscitate across your forehead.
DNR right here. DNR right on the forehead. Didn't you say it? It said DNR.
LSF, do you have any other questions?
I'm just thinking, not right now.
All right.
I mean, okay, yeah. Do you not think that there's some kind of ethical consideration others?
What?
The impact that you have?
So I think that in our world, there are pragmatic limitations. So the world we live in, any of your actions can have consequences on other people. But I think in a perfectly moral world, that would not be the case. So like in a perfectly moral world, everybody would essentially get their own universe, and you could define whatever rules and laws you want to take place in that universe. And you should have complete right and autonomy over yourself and your property in this universe. You could, of course, visit other people or whatever if they let you in their universes, so you could still interact. But that would be very different than our world, in which case things you can do can affect other people. And so the pragmatic considerations of our world is different than the objective morality of what would describe the perfectly moral world.
That's perfect about human life, right? We have free will, you know. We have free will to choose what we want to do, you know.
No, we don't.
Yeah, but free will has an indication of saying I don't want to do anything.
Free will is literally defined as choosing without impediment.
Yes, but I mean, but the default is, I don't want to.
Well,
You can't make me.
Then you're not choosing. That's the whole point.
Wait, that's not the default. That doesn't even make any sense. But LSF, did you going to say something else?
Yeah, actually, that's an interesting point. Free will. What's your position? Are you a materialist, a physicalist?
Yes, I am both of those things. I think that free will is, if you're a compatibilist, that's fine. Compatibilism is the position that free will is not, is compatible with determinism. So you can be a determinist and have free will. But like libertarian free will, I think is impossible. There's no way to make a decision that isn't either predetermined by previous causes or reasons, in which case it's going to be determined, or make that decision for literally no reason, in which case it's random. And so there's no third option that allows you to have a libertarian free will or you could have done otherwise. It doesn't exist. It's either going to be determined or random. And so unless you're a compatibilist, there is no free will.
Yeah. So would you say that when you make a choice, that the sort of antecedent choices that you don't take are illusory?
Sort of. More like the reason you take a choice is because that choice outweighs the other ones. And if that choice outweighs the other ones, you're always going to make that choice. But it is possible for you to gain inputs that could outweigh the other choices. So it's illusory that you could have made a different choice at that exact same time. But those other choices are still options if you gain enough information to change the direction of your belief towards those other beliefs later.
Would it be more accurate to say we exist in a world that is the result of other choices and forces? So at all times we're having curated options presented to us?
Well, we're always having curated options because we can't literally imagine everything at once.
Yeah, and it's within those confines that we're then making a choice. But for example, that's why I don't see libertarian free will as being a real thing.
Our choices are based off our environment, you know. For example, most people that are like, you know, Christians, right? We, like me personally, I've been born and raised like as Christian. So yeah, most of our choices are based like off our environment, and choices can like waver depending on what your environment like Yeah, for example, in America, like in Africa, I think some parts in Africa like disagree with LGBTQ. And man, I can't I can't always like try to push my like ideals on you know. I mean,
They disagree. Is that how you call genocide?
Well, so there can be one, like, objective morality could exist, at which point we can say you're wrong. Like, obviously, we wouldn't try to like use war to force people to change rules, but we can, if we can show objective morality is real, we can show that they're wrong to.
Yeah, just fucking dial.
What? Shrub, I think you're hot miking.
you know, of course, like sharing opinion and like forcing opinion is like two different things. So,
right.
I mean, you know, for example, I heard about you talking about, you know, before about, you know, I mean, if the person, you know, for example, just wants to die, but you know, I mean, and you know, he's like unconscious and like, and I still save him, then like, how is that then? Like, is that just like pushing my ideals on that person, or is it just like, even though I don't know what the person, if that the person said this, like how would that be then?
Well, so like if you don't know and you're just making an assumption, that person might be drowning accidentally, so I'm going to save them because I think they might want to be saved. That's perfectly fine. But if someone is literally trying to kill themselves, especially because they're depressed or have ALS or something, and you save them, forcing them to live, that's immoral. You shouldn't do that. That's bad, because you're right. You're forcing your values onto them.
David, as a Christian, you're a sinner. We all are.
Of course.
Why do you focus on LGBTQ specifically? I mean, is it any worse than the sin that you commit?
Is there a secret sin you wish to confess?
Well, to like targets LSF point first, I mean, for me personally, like me personally, I love the LGBT community, but I don't accept it. You know, like it's not I don't accept it. You know, because it's, you know, God's words completely go against it. You know, you can have love for people, doesn't mean you accept it. You accept the person. You know.
Well, his question was: is that worse than any of the other sins, including the ones you do?
That's worse than any other sin. I mean, God, like sin is sin, but like God kind of looks. I mean, God looks a little different in some sense, you know, like, but it's still sin. It doesn't like make it. Yeah, I mean, it's not like a worse punishment. It's like all equal punishment because it's sin, because you disobey God, of course. But I mean, a sin that is really bad is like blasphemy, of course. That's like a big sin.
That's the only unforgivable sin, according to the Bible.
What do you mean?
Well, that's what the Bible says. The only unforgivable sin is blasphemy.
Yeah,
everything else is forgivable.
Yeah,
but there's actually many different types of sin.
There's definitely I think the mistake is in thinking there's a gradient of types of sin. That's kind of the problem. Is that the sin as we use it in theology is anything that goes against God's wishes. So if he makes a dictate and you go against it, that's a sin. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's been specified as something he wants things a certain way.
Of course. I mean, even if you like transition, and then you know, even though it's like sin and stuff, you can like, if you repent from that, you can still get saved. You know, I mean, yeah.
Well, yeah, it's going to be my next question. So, is there any sin, well, other than blasphemy, as stated in the Bible, which can't be forgiven? I mean, I'm asking if you have, I don't know, a paedophile or a mass murderer, somebody who commits genocide. If they repent and sincerely believe, are they saved?
Is Jeffrey Dahmer saved?
What about Hitler?
Well, is it unforgivable if you murder a bunch of people out in public where everyone catches you?
I mean, in the Bible, it talks about a story. Like it talks about a story, right? That, of course, there was like once this murder too, and he got forgiven, and he got saved and went to heaven. You know.
Yeah,
I
so
mean, even as a
every
murder, it's really simple. Like just repent from your sin, and accept Jesus. You know, it's really simple.
Well, you could argue that the devil gives us things
I mean,
and,
he can.
and leads us to sin through things because, like if people like spicy things, he gives us capsaicin. If you like comfy things, he's going to give you a moccasin. And if you want to poison somebody, he'll give you ricin. So there's lots of different sins that could be deployed. That,
Yeah, but
devil's
temptation is not a sin, though. Temptation is not a sin. Because the thing is, temptation is not a sin. At the end of the day, even though he tempted you, giving into temptation is a sin, though. Giving into temptation.
How are you able to delineate between sin which is by your own choosing and one which is being influenced by the devil?
Can I give you a religious view
Comrade, you're breaking up.
Still not. We have a free choice. And it's
Comrade, you're roboting a little bit. Like it's
just like you guys say. You know what? We're not listening to society.
We got some new people who I want to give a chance to talk. Comrade, can you try talking again?
Yeah, how's this?
That's a little better. What did you want to say?
Okay, so I'm Gnostic, all right. When it comes down to like sin, right, these are sins that are like attributable to the angels that fell in Lucifer's rebellion, right? So like Lucifer is the worst sin, which is he's the god of judgment. Right, this is like passing judgment for God, right, in his place. That's like the demiurge, the god of the Bible, right? Is like the god of control, right? And that's what he does. He passes judgment. So Lucifer is under the god of judgment and is being used as like his puppet, but he's the light bringer, right? So my God is light, like literal and metaphorical light, right? Which like this is how we, come into even knowledge of other gods in the first place, right? Or how you live in the first place, right? You have to have physical and metaphorical light. Like the metaphorical light would be your soul, right?
I have
Your
no idea what you're
existence.
talking about right now. Not a clue.
Gnosticism.
What about it? So I'm an atheist. I don't think there's any evidence of a God whatsoever.
Okay. So your God is the God as a thought, right? Your
No.
God is the God of existence.
No. I have no God.
Yeah. I know, but you're saying God doesn't exist. That's why you don't believe in him, right?
Right.
Why do you believe in existence?
Because I can see it.
No, you can't. Your eyes only show you what your brain is telling you.
Right.
Your brain is a physical thing.
Right.
Your soul is not. The observer is not a physical thing.
Right, but I don't see any souls. I see physical stuff all the time. I can see my thoughts because I think them. So the things I can see exist because I'm literally seeing them. They can't, can I believe I exist and not exist at the
Okay,
same
does that
time?
mean the things you can't see don't exist?
Oh, it means I don't have any reason to believe they exist until we have evidence for them.
Okay, do you think that oxygen exists?
Yes, we have evidence for oxygen. We can see oxygen.
Right. But that's not like we couldn't just see oxygen with our own eyes. We had to develop technology to be able to see oxygen, correct?
Right. So we didn't think that oxygen existed until we had evidence for it.
Right. So why wouldn't you think God exists until you have evidence for it?
I don't. So it's the exact same. I don't think something exists
Right.
until
So
we have
you
evidence.
must remain. Wait. You must remain agnostic to the fact, right? You can't say that I don't believe in God because I don't see Him existing.
No, because we have lots of positive
I don't
evidence.
think that God exists because we don't have the evidence for it.
No, we have
But
lots
if
of.
we were to come across the evidence for it,
so
you have lots of evidence that God doesn't exist.
Yes.
How if it doesn't exist? How do you have evidence for something that doesn't exist?
Because things start as imaginary until demonstrated otherwise. So if it's just something some human came up with, we can say, is this one of the things that is one of the tens of thousands of fallacies, biases, illusions, delusions, misconceptions that are common within human brains? And if so, I have rational justification to conclude it's purely a figment of human imagination. And until you have evidence to overcome that, it's justified to conclude it's just a figment of human imagination.
Okay, so nothing in human imagination has like not existed before and then
Well, here's the thing. There could be a girl who's with TJump, and she starts screaming out, "Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God!" The real question then becomes: would he then stop having intercourse with her, or would he cast her aside and say, "No, madam, there is no God"?
It's totally irrelevant. Like people just saying she's praying or
that was
something.
just kind of triggering.
Yeah, a little
Like, I don't know what to say. That was just a little triggering. I'm not sure what your point there was.
So go back to the claim. Can I say, does Santa Claus? I don't think Santa Claus exists, right? Santa Claus does not exist.
Wait, I do.
That's why.
I don't think he exists as like a actual person, right? He exists as a story, though, correct?
Those are two different things. So exists means independent of a story.
Why does it need to be independent of a story?
Because that's what I mean by the word exists. So when I say exists, I mean independent of imagination. Stories are imagination. So if Santa Claus
But
exists,
dude, half the things that we have here, like an iPhone, doesn't exist independent of an imagination.
yes,
You
it
understand what I'm
does.
saying here?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, dude, like the whole creation of an iPhone had to be imagined at first,
Right,
right?
and
The idea of planes has to be imagined at first,
right, and then
it
we make
exists.
them outside of our imagination. So it was at one point nothing but imaginary. An iPhone was nothing but an imaginary thing, and then we built it, and then it became a non-imaginary thing. Santa Claus has at no point not been an imaginary thing.
But that's what I'm asking you. Why do you think that, right? Because God isn't an imagination at this point, right? Because you can't observe him in material world, right?
Yep.
That and one day we will not do that.
We
So
might.
my
One day, if we have evidence in the future that overturns our evidence that it's imagination, then it will be rational to believe it's more than imagination.
I believe that it's rational now to say you don't know.
Sure, it's rational to say you don't know. I agree.
Okay. Well, that's where I'm at with it, right?
Okay.
I'm saying, well, I don't know, but I'm a Gnostic. So any story that someone tells me, I believe it is a story.
Sure, I
Okay.
agree.
So, like, my only worship is to the God of light. The God of light is necessary for this conversation to happen. You
That doesn't
understand
make
what I'm
any
saying? When I'm
sense.
saying light, I mean physical and metaphorical energy, right? What I'm talking about is like your ability to see things and judge them as they are comes from the God of light.
That doesn't make any
Your
sense.
ability to have acknowledgement of yourself comes from the God of light. So you are the observer.
Like, so we
in
can speak without light. If light did not exist, we could still speak.
through what vibrations?
Yeah, air exists without light. You don't need light for air. Photons, no
There's
photons.
no vibrations. If there are no vibrations, then the electrons do not move against each other. There's nothing to move.
Right, light is
There's
photons.
no light.
Light is photons. So if we just eliminated all photons, you still have electrons, neutrons, gluons, baryons.
What I'm saying is, where are the electrons going to come from if there's no light? What happens in galaxies with no sun?
They're still there.
How are they still there?
Well, so like,
what are they rotating around?
Black holes in some cases, sometimes other galaxies.
Well, I do have another opinion about black holes. So yeah, I just think those are gateways to hell.
Okay.
I think that everything that isn't in existence is in there, and that's not good.
I don't think that works, but
it doesn't exist here.
Alki, what do you got for us?
I believe opposed from the light, right? There is shadows, and whatever exists in light doesn't exist in shadows, and that's what those are.
That literally makes no sense. Like, you can have a planet.
Comrade, sorry.
It's the only thing that makes sense. I believe. Go ahead.
Comrade. So you're basically just saying is that if light does not exist, then nothing can exist, correct?
Nothing would be perceivable to ourselves, yeah. Our
Okay, so that's different from what you said before. If it's not perceivable to ourselves, that means just our perceptions. Also, a blind person. So I have a question for you. Could a blind person speak to other people?
No, that's not what I mean. When I say perceivable to ourselves, I'm not talking about our physical selves. What I'm saying is like You will never be able to come in contact with it if it doesn't exist.
Okay, but you realize that if there was not light, there would still be particles.
Go off. What,
There would
matter?
still be physical existence.
Yeah, you're talking about matter?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think like matter has a soul though. That's not
It
what I'm
doesn't have to
talking
have a soul, does it? For it to exist, does everything have to have
about.
like so
Yeah,
every inanimate object has a soul to you?
there has to be an observer. Like we wouldn't never know if a place had no like particles and no people there for it to observe it.
Can you
'Cause
please
just like
restate
if
that more
if
coherently?
a tree falls in the forest and no one's around to hear it, doesn't make a sound, is what I'm saying.
But it still falls. Even though you wouldn't hear it, you could still go to it, see a
That's
downed
not the
tree, and then you
question.
could
I'm
put
asking,
two
does
and
it
two
make a
together.
sound? I'm asking, does it make a sound?
There's still a compression
Yes,
wave.
yeah, dude. If you've observed personally like 1,000 trees falling and it makes a sound, then the one time you didn't see the tree fall, you would probably be able to safely assume that did make a sound as it fell. Is that not correct?
We would be assuming though. That's what I'm saying.
Hey, well, are you assuming that exists right now and not just an aberration that is like talking to you through like a schizophrenic voice in your head?
I mean, the best thing that I can tell you that exists is myself.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. So
I
yeah.
can.
Okay. That's Cartesian
But there
logic.
has to
Okay.
be
You're
there
getting
has to be an
somewhere.
observer. There has to be an observer. So I can tell you that myself exists, right? But everything else is funneled through my senses.
Okay. So wait. Okay. So what we're referencing is cogito ergo sum, which means I think therefore I am. Right. That's yeah.
Cogito
Okay.
ergo sum.
Yeah. I don't speak Italian very
Yeah,
well,
he's
so
Latin.
he's
But that's my thing.
referencing the Gettier problem.
Wait, but see, I trust you guys. See, this is my thing. So because that's the only thing I could know for sure exists, everything that anyone else tells me, I mean, I could take it with a grain of salt, and that's kind of what I do. But stories, right, are what I make my life up upon, right? I'm the hermit.
Okay, so if you make your life upon stories and you're just selecting which stories you want to believe, you could believe that the story is that all the other stories are wrong.
I believe all of them.
So if you believe all stories that are like mutually exclusive all at once, then you have a completely incoherent worldview.
No, it's the ones I want to subscribe to. So
Exactly. That's what I just said. You just choose which ones you want to like listen to, and that's how a lot of people operate their lives. But the thing is, though, is if you just choose like incoherent, stupid stories that don't make any sense, then you're just making.
what stupid story do you think that I've subscribed to that don't make any sense?
You said Santa Claus earlier.
Okay, well, listen, I believe in Santa Claus, but I don't believe he exists.
So, well, that doesn't make any sense.
I believe in the things that don't exist. Because why wouldn't you? Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to apply it in the existing world. That makes no sense, right? But things that don't exist, like Santa Claus, right? I can look at Santa Claus's story, his parable, and be like, oh, okay, that's cool. I like charity and stuff like that. Doesn't mean I'm going to worship Santa Claus.
Okay, wait. So you're saying the concept of Santa Claus, like as in the themes of Santa Claus, like charity, giving, cheerfulness, that kind of stuff. That's what you agree with.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's a cool story.
So you
To
don't.
be honest,
okay.
To be honest, I think that's just sophistry. He packages around and he wants to define a story in very special terms, so it mixes up with existence, and then he claims it's not existence, and then it's just sophistry.
I worship light. Okay, I worship the God of light, metaphorical and physical light.
How do you worship light? What's your worship ritual?
Before I subscribe to any other stories, right, or forms of understanding in the world, I see, does it correlate with the God of light? Meaning, does it exist metaphorically and physically? And also, does it exist like as a boost of my soul, right?
How do you determine this?
Sorry, Dave, but the question was, how do you worship it?
Through stories.
But what do you actually do?
What do I? Okay. I do meditations, right, to move myself away from the material world, right? So, my thoughts, right? I can manage my thoughts. You understand what I'm saying? I understand that they only come from my brain, right? They come from these physical sensations, right? And I can't tell if these physical sensations are necessarily real, okay? But what I do know is real is myself, right? And so from myself, I can choose whether or not to listen to my brain.
Okay, so what if your brain was telling you to kill your child?
Yes, and that would be something that myself would look at and be like, no.
Okay,
Not
so
doing
then what if your brain told you to eat only eggs the rest of your life?
Yeah, that probably would be something I would look at and be like, no. We're not
Okay, so
doing that.
so where were you deriving this sense of moral right and wrong then?
From the light.
From the light, not from societal norms.
Yeah, from enlightenment. Societal norms, right, are part of that enlightenment.
Okay.
What we know to be true, right? What we know to produce good consequences is a part of the existence, is a part of that knowing. So that enlightenment, yes, is what I subscribe to. Yeah.
So then what's the difference? So then why can't I just like not do that? Because I think I have similar beliefs to you in the fact that I don't like killing children, and I also probably, I mean, wouldn't eat eggs the rest of my life as well. So why would I need to subscribe to a religion like that when I could just instead just live my life normally and pretty much have the exact same thought process you do?
Easier to teach people, especially dumb people.
That is totally untrue. I can tell you right now.
I understand.
Because what you're doing is the most backwards way to reach a pretty standard moral argument. You're
When I learned history, right? When I learned about history, I learned about it in the form of stories, in the form of relations of one entity to another.
What?
Did you not learn it in that way? Did you not have a subject, right? And an object, right? Did you not say, hey, this is what happened to this object based upon this object's decision?
What? People talk cause and effect.
Yes.
That's just a paradigm to show show the difference in things, right? Because the only constant with time and history, especially, is change, right? But that's not the only way you teach things. Like history, yeah, you need to be able to show the differences in time, right? You have to be able to compare and contrast. But things like STEM related stuff, like math, you don't need to have to show how things change with time. You only have to show how concepts work, how conventions of logic work.
You have to show how things change with time because entities have different relationships to other entities.
So,
a monarchy does not have the same difference.
Yeah, for history, but for other things that you're learning, like mathematics or something, you don't need that.
You definitely do need to know the relationship between 1 and 2, right?
Yes, but that isn't the same as knowing. God.
It is
Hey,
absolutely the story of 1 and 2.
Comrade, I want to ask you a question for clarification. You kept saying earlier metaphorical light. What is that?
So that's enlightenment.
So yeah, but you're saying photons, you believe in light, and then you say metaphorical light, and then you're saying, well, that's enlightenment. I'm not following you there.
It's energy. It's the transfer of energy, right? So what I mean by metaphorical light is the relationship between two entities, right?
What does that have to do with photons?
You can't have a relationship between two entities without physical light. You're saying photons, and I understand you're saying photons.
No, you said
photons are transferred into electrons upon meeting with matter, right?
That's not how that works, but okay, continue on.
Okay, tell me how that works.
Well, photons don't convert into electrons. It's just that simple.
Okay, so what is photosynthesis?
Photosynthesis is the energy from the so whenever light has a very high energy, right? And it hits things that it produces shit. Hold on.
Yeah,
exactly. Okay, wait, hold on.
I know what I'm talking about, bro. Don't do me like that.
Well, I know it doesn't turn to fucking electrons because otherwise every single plant would be a fucking battery. So
Yeah, so you not stuck a potato into like a socket thing and made it do that?
Yeah, okay, but how's that light though?
Because you're
Because potatoes because
what I'm
potatoes
talking about
aren't potatoes after you take them out of the ground, they are no longer like having light on them.
Wait, just to clarify, photons can decay into like an electron and a counter electron. That doesn't mean that you need photons for electrons to exist.
Yeah.
Then get rid of yours. I don't know what to tell you. What do you think would happen if you just had none?
There would still be electrons. Like electrons don't disappear because light disappears.
Would you exist?
What?
Photons a bucket of energy. It's not exclusively light, visible light. Can I just quickly ask you a question?
Yeah.
So, if we were talking about subatomic particles earlier, so we're all made of atoms, none of which have any intent. So, how is it that you come together to form a being in a material world if the things from which you are made don't actually possess?
They don't even.
That's kind of like looking at like the end result of like a really statistically improbable thing, but something that still happened, right? Like, if you won the lottery twice in a row, if you're that person who won the lottery, it would feel like there was some intent behind it. There's no way this could happen to just me. You know what I mean? But statistically, like someone had to have won it twice, and I'm pretty sure people have won it twice, and it not be like them cheating. It's just they won it twice. But I think that's kind of the same way. You're kind of like thinking backwards in that sense, where here I am, the final product of a very statistically unlikely event. There's no way this would have happened on its own. This has to clearly be intentional because there's no way that this could have happened on its own. When in reality, it could most definitely happen on its own. It's just very unlikely.
You could say
until it happens.
Yeah, well, I would do. So the quantitative measurements of stuff in the universe. Do you think that can account for the qualitative experience?
Well, I mean, it's just down to what do you mean by that question, though?
Well, what is it that makes something red?
You're just confusing me here.
Reflection of light. Reflection of light. Dude.
Well, the reason why things are red is because I mean I can tell you the scientific reason why things are red, but you talking like some like other thing.
I just told you what the scientific reason for why things are red are.
Because they have a lower wavelength, and our eyes can perceive that lower wavelength as red.
Dude, it's the reflection of light.
It's not.
That's not just reflection. It could be refraction too, comrade.
I'm talking about the quality of experience.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Like, what do you mean by that?
Well, it's not accounted for by the quantitative measurements. So, yeah, red would be an example.
I think it means like what in conscious experience causes things to appear in the way they do when we see red.
Well, it's just so I'm saying like why is it like apart from it red being just red and us being able to see red, why is it that we perceive red the way we do in our brains? Is that what the question?
Why do we give it that name?
That's just
sorry, I can't think.
We've given it that name for its relationship, so that we can see it as one entity.
Well, there's multiple shades of red, so
yeah, and we all call it red.
Well, we don't all call every single shade of red all the time. We sometimes call it maroon, sometimes call it.
Give it a different name.
Huh?
If its relationship is different enough, we give it a different name. It has a different relationship.
Okay. I mean, that you're just describing how we categorize things. That's how everything is. That's what everything is. If there's a distinction that needs to be made, we'll make a distinction. Like that's not a very profound point.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, I'm gonna have to go pretty soon. That's my 4 hours. So I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.
Thanks.